The story begins in a magical world shared by 9 races: dragonutes, elves, onus, dwarves, demons, dark elves, centaurs, beastfolk, and humans, from whom a young adventurer called Light was born, wanting to give his family a better life. Light says goodbye to his hometown and leaves to explore for money and power. After reaching a big city, Light gets shoved around by the crowd, but continues searching for the Adventurers Guild. He enters the guild and introduces himself to the receptionist, who asks if he wants to register as a fresh adventurer. As he nods, she explains that he'll start from the lowest F rank and asks if he has a special ability. Light says that he has an unlimited gacha ability, which allows him to roll for random cards and summon them. After he summons a broken fork in front of her, the receptionist is left speechless. Embarrassed, Light tries acting like silverware isn't the only thing he can summon, but his next rolls just give him a bunch of rotten snacks. Light is disappointed that his luck decided to betray him at the worst moment, and the receptionist confirms that he deserves the pathetic F rank. After receiving his adventurer's card, he asks her for some quests, and she tells him to search on the guild's job board. At the mention of job posts, Light feels awkward, and the receptionist realizes that he can't read the board, feeling sad for her uneducated fellow human. She reads out the job posts for him, feeling excited to earn some real money. Light happily accepts the boring tasks. After a day of hard work, he finally gets enough money to rent a room. However, a gang of beastfolk knocks him down and starts bullying him. As their leader picks up his money, Light begs him to have mercy on him, but the cruel wolfman knocks him back with a hard uppercut. The wolfman taunts Light for begging for spare change and coldly leaves with his laughing gang. Even the crowd ignores Light while he's on the ground, until a kind elf helps him up. Light gets surprised by all the adventurers surrounding him, and he backs down in shock. Seeing how frightened he is, the elf hugs Light to comfort him, while the passerbys mock her. As Light is shocked that a pretty elf got dirty for his sake, she helps him stand up. The adventurers introduce themselves as members of the Concord of Tribes. A beastman named Garu explains that each member represents one of the 9 races, and the elf introduces herself as Sasha. She introduces Drago, Diablo, Oboro, Nano, Sion, and Santor, completing 8 of the 9 races. Light learns that the Concord is searching for a human race to show the unity of all people in their world. As Garu reaches out his hand to invite him, Light feels stunned that someone needs his help, then happily accepting his invitation. Soon, Light starts exploring a cave dungeon called the Abyss with his new group. A huge worm beast tries to attack him, but Guru chops it apart before it can hurt Light. Another worm sneaks up on Light from behind, so Sasha takes it down with her bow. She scolds Light for being so careless, reminding him that they're exploring the world's most dangerous dungeon. Sasha warns him that he could die easily in this place. She sits down and takes care of his wounds. Noticing her acting like his mommy, the other party members start teasing Sasha for spoiling Light so much. While blushing like a tomato, Sasha acts like she totally doesn't love Light and claims that she's just trying to protect a fellow group member. As the party members ignore her weak excuse, Sasha gets more defensive. However, Drago steps in and cheers up Light, saying that he makes excellent tea for their team. With his motivation, the group heads deeper into the dungeon. As the group stops at a dead end, Drago stops them. Light thinks they're going to take a break, so he starts preparing some tea for them. However, Drago tells him that they don't need the tea since they're kicking Light out of their party. Light thinks it's some kind of prank, but Drago harshly repeats his words. As Light remains stunned, Garu also tells him that he's out, so Light asks him why they're dumping him. Garu tells Light that their group doesn't need him, and Sasha feels disgusted by his foolishness. Even Sion and Nano start mocking Light for being so pathetic, while the demons are relieved that they can finally get rid of him. Light asks why they're being so cruel to him after all the kindness they showed him earlier. Garu reveals that they were just faking their kindness to make him join their party. Light wonders why their powerful party needed him, and Drago says that it's because of his special ability. He explains that they recruited Light in hopes that he'd be an overpowered maestro, but his ability is just too trash. Light points out that his unlimited gacha ability was never useful, and Guru agrees with him. He mocks Light for being a talentless human, so his party doesn't need his dead weight anymore, knowing he was a failure all alone. Sion wonders why it took her friends so long to dump him. Meanwhile, Sasha feels relieved that she can marry her master instead of ending up with the pathetic human kid. As Light feels overwhelmed by this shocking information, Drago decides to finish the job with him. After he tells tells Garu to clean up Light. He finally realizes the danger he's in. Watching their hostile stares, Light learns that his party will finish him to avoid him getting stronger later and trying to take revenge. Garu draws his claws and swipes at Light's cheek, who looks at the blood flowing from the cut. As the party members coldly looks on, Light runs away screaming. Garu tells him that the Abyss monsters will have him for brunch. However, Sasha shoots an arrow at his leg to prevent him from escaping. Struggling in pain, Light collapses from the hit, and Garu takes pleasure in his suffering. He steps up and kicks Light hard in the stomach, knocking him down again. He starts beating the crap out of Light, but Sasha stops him. She reminds him that they need to make Light's disappearance look like an accident. So Garu raises his claw for a final strike. Seeing his end approaching, Light crawls on the ground, wanting to continue living. Garu feels excited to watch him struggle so hard, as the weak boy tries to survive in the face of certain death. Suddenly, Light's hand presses on a teleportation trap, and Drago tells Garu to end him before it activates. However, it safely teleports Light away before the beastman can reach him. Afterward, Light wakes up elsewhere in the dungeon, still suffering from heavy injuries. He thinks that any random monster will eat him even if he survives a bit longer. As the harsh chill of the cave reminds Light of his loving family, he starts crying. Light recalls how kind the Concord was after their first meeting and wonders why they turned out so cruel. Thinking about their cold expressions after taking him to the dead end, Light feels angered by their betrayal. He feels confused by the powerful masters and Concord's higher-ups, wondering how he got involved with such crazy people. His confusion turns into fury as he vows revenge. Light gets up, determined to cut down all of them, but feels a cold gaze staring at his back. He turns around and sees a level 1 Orthus beast stalking him. Light wonders what such a broken monster is doing here and realizes that the trap teleported him to the deepest level of the abyss. As the Orthus approaches him, Light thinks about an escape. He starts desperately spamming his unlimited gacha ability, praying to get a miracle. With a final frantic press, Light summons a huge magic circle. He stares in disbelief as the gacha device releases a powerful aura, summoning an ancient fairy. Recognizing Light as her master, the mysterious fairy chops up the monster like an onion. The monster's shattered remains fall down, and the fairy lands gracefully to the ground. In front of Light's shocked eyes, she clears up the mess with a flick of her hands before turning around. The fairy walks towards Light and humbly kneels down, before healing all his wounds with magic. She apologizes to Light for healing him without permission since she couldn't bear seeing him injured. Light introduces himself, feeling disbelief that he just rolled the most overpowered fairy in the world. The fairy falls in love with his name and starts repeating it, before swearing her complete loyalty to him. Not knowing her identity, Light awkwardly asks for her name, so she reveals that she's the level 9999 ever-seeking maid called May. May explains that she's a super ultra rare card from Light's gacha. Light says that the gacha only produces junk, thinking there's no way he pulled a powerful baddie like her. May thinks he completely deserves her and begs her to accept him. Seeing her pitiful face, Light finally agrees, and May thanks him for his favor. She then asks Light to examine his gacha ability, and he feels surprised that she has the appraisal skill. May tells him that it's just one of her abilities before asking for his permission again. Once Light agrees, May's eye starts glowing as she examines him. Seeing that the gacha provides him with layers of secret protection, May feels impressed by his powerful ability. She explains that the gacha seemed useless because Light was previously in areas with no mana. However, in the supercharged abyss, the gacha absorbed the mana around him and boosted his chances of getting a rare card. She explains all the unlimited gacha card ranks from the highest extra rank and super ultra rare down to normal and error. Light still doesn't understand, so May tells him that on the surface, he could never get any good pulls because of the scarce mana around them. She praises Light for figuring out the gacha's power and entering the abyss to boost his chances of a rare pull. However, May notes that it was incredibly dangerous for him to venture out on his own, and he points out that she's wrong. Light reveals that he entered the abyss with his party, but they betrayed him and tortured his body. Thinking about their cruel abuse and taunting, he starts crying while telling May about his story. Light recalls how his old group mocked him for being a pathetic human. He complains about their cruel taunts, saying he was just trying to earn an honest living for his family. May watches as he vents his feelings, completely devastated by the party's brutal betrayal. Finally, Light falls on his knees from the pain, saying that he'll never forgive the the cruel beasts for hurting him. He clutches the arrow from his leg while shedding tears, and May silently hugs him. In her warm embrace, Light calms down and stops crying. May tells him that she can never understand the depths of his suffering, but she'll use all her power to give the Concord their deserved retribution. As Light looks at her in shock, May swears to have all of them lined up in front of him in an instant. As he stops her and gets up, May thinks that he's being too kind for his own good. She tells him not to be so merciful, but Light tells her that he ended up in this situation because of his own weakness. He tells May that he doesn't want to abuse her power for revenge, vowing to get stronger and punish the Concord with his own two hands. Light thinks that May won't believe his unrealistic fantasies, but she promises to support his goal with zero hesitation. After May tells him that she has complete faith in his abilities, Light smiles in joy. She returns his smile before Light uses his gacha to summon another overpowered tool in the abyss. May watches faithfully as Light begins building his empire. Fueled by the abyss's infinite mana, giant magic circles surround Light, summoning the ultimate tools for his quest for power. After 3 years of hard work, Light has built a lavish kingdom with all his new fairies. As he walks through his castle halls, all maids submissively greet him, hoping to get some special attention. Annoyed by their creepy stares, May asks Light if she should silence the noisy fairies. Light doesn't mind it, since he thinks they're just showing their love for him. After leaving the castle, Light walks through town, where all the shopkeepers greet him with friendly words. As the shopkeepers ask Light to replenish their supplies, May makes a mental note to solve their problems later. Then, Light asks her what his other fairies are doing, so May informs him that a fairy called Aoyuki is exploring the abyss. Satisfied, Light thinks that Aoyuki should be fine in the abyss as the genius tamer. Then, he asks about the researcher fairy called Ellie, and learns that she's developing magic spells to increase his power. Light feels guilty since he's making Ellie work really hard for him, and asks May what their fighter called Nazuna is doing. May feels upset that Nazuna is just patrolling the castle's interior, even though her fighting abilities are very high. However, Light thinks she's perfect for the job, walking around with her cheerful personality. Afterward, Light returns to the castle, where his final 999 level hero, named Jack, greets him with his first name. This angers May, who reminds Jack to be respectful to their master. Light tells her he doesn't mind what Jack calls him and leaves to train with him in the dungeon. After warning him that he won't hold back, Light prepares to charge at Jack, who is ready to take him on. He rushes with ultra speed and punches Jack's stomach, which knocks him a few meters back. Knowing that only his body is strong enough to withstand Light's attack, Jack feels surprised by his power. He also attacks Light, and the two of them begin a fierce battle. Meanwhile, Nazuna continues walking in the safe castle halls, acting like she's protecting the maids from dangerous criminals. As Nazuna tells the maids she's doing a very important mission for Light, they praise her like a spoiled child. As Nazuna gets a big head from all their praise, the maids ask her where she's going next. She tells them she hasn't decided yet, so they ask her to patrol a secret place for them. Wondering what kind of place it is, Nazuna agrees to help them. Soon, she knocks on the door to Light's bedroom, where May comes out. She asks Nazuna if she needs something, so Nazuna tells her that she's patrolling the area. May tells her that she doesn't need her security in the bedroom, but Nazuna gets curious about what she's doing. She asks May why she's in Light's bedroom when he's out fighting Jack, and May acts like she's just cleaning the room. However, Nazuna ignores May's yapping and walks straight into the room. Noticing the messy bed, she thinks that May rolls around in it and sniffs Light's smell like a pervert. To protect her dignity, May tells Nazuna that it's just a secret cleaning technique, and the airheaded knight easily believes her fake story. As May feels relieved that Nazuna isn't the sharpest crayon in the box, she starts fumbling around her armor to find a message from the maids. After finding the letter, she reads it out, informing May that all the other maids are angry at her for hogging Light's room. As Nazuna reads the final part of the message, she wonders why all the maids are cursing May. The innocent Nazuna thinks that they're cursing her to help her develop an immunity, and May tells her she'll deal with the maids herself. Then, she gives Nazuna some money for delivering the message, and she happily accepts and leaves. Afterward, Nazuna goes to the market and grabs a bunch of tasty sweets to eat. While eating, she finds Aoyuki sitting on a balcony. After learning that Aoyuki is done with her exploration, Nazuna warns her that she won't share her food. Since Aoyuki keeps meowing in response, Nazuna feels confused. She wonders what the cat girl is saying and tries to guess suggests that she got into some trouble in the forest. As Nizuna offers to help her clear the obstacles, Ayuki gets annoyed and reveals that she has already finished making a map of the whole area. This surprises Nizuna, who starts cheerfully hitting the girl and scolds her for not explaining earlier. Then, she heads back to start goofing around again, leaving Ayuki exhausted. Nizuna heads into the palace's throne room and makes sure that nobody is watching. She climbs onto Light's empty throne, feeling sad that he's not around to see her. However, her careless movements break off a piece of the throne, and Nizuna quietly puts it back before teleporting out of the room. Back in the dungeon, Light and Jack match blows a final time. Jack tells him they should call it off and get some rest, and Light agrees. Once they're in the hot bath, Jack praises Light for mastering his power. Light credits Jack's teaching, but Jack, confident that few can match him in the palace, warns Light not to get overconfident. There might still be someone on the surface strong enough to challenge him. Light nods in agreement, promising that he'll never underestimate his opponents while getting his revenge. Meanwhile, in May's office, all the fairy maids stand nervously while awaiting her orders. May asks her if they know why they're in trouble, and the maids try to act innocent. As May reads the contents of their letter out loud, they get terrified of her and back down into the walls. She asks the maids what they meant by their letter, and they say that they were just trying to reduce her burden. However, May points out that they cursed her 3 times at the end, which leaves them speechless. She also scolds the maids for using Nizuna as their scapegoat, and they all start whispering among themselves. Then, May heads back to her chair and announces that she's rejecting their appeal. Before ordering them to clean the long hallway leading to the throne room, the maids accept their punishment, but when May tells them they'll have to do everything with their bare hands, they feel completely stunned. The maids protest against the punishment, but May says that since she's heading back to the surface, they need to cover up in her absence. In town, Nizuna greedily stares at some cool armor. Ellie approaches her, feeling surprised that the castle guard is wandering around. She asks if Nizuna wants some candy, but the knight points to the armor. She asks Ellie about her research, and Ellie explains that she's heading back since her work is finished. Ellie thinks that Nizuna is an idiot since she couldn't figure this out on her own, but Nizuna disagrees, to prove her wrong. Nizuna says that 1 times 3 is 4. Ellie mocks her being dumber than a starfish, so Nizuna counters that only dumb people insult other people's intelligence. However, Ellie starts bragging about having tea with Light, thinking that he'll invite her to his bedroom next. This makes Nizuna jealous, who also wants to have some tea with her master. Back in the maid's room, they get angry at May's punishment. One of them wonders how to get rid of their annoying leader and suggests they should poison her. After her partner reminds her that May is immune to poison, they all fall silent, wondering what to do. Frustrated that she can't clean Light's room, the lead maid starts complaining once again. Her friends agree, wanting to sniff his scent like May. Their creepy friend fantasizes about licking Light's used spoon, and they all call her a freak. However, she calls them out for having the same desires, and the hypocrites shamelessly agree that they'd do the same. Then, the maids think about May being the first fairy that Light summoned, remembering that it took him 3 more months to summon Aoyuki. They wonder if May did some freaky stuff while she was alone with Light. At this realization, all the maids start crying that they didn't get the chance to fulfill their desires with their master, and decide to curse May for all eternity. However, as they begin their joint cursing session, May enters the room. Silencing them all, the maids ask her why she isn't outside doing her mission, and May explains that she was just on her way out when she heard them praying for her. She walks into the room, asking why they were cursing her. Feeling terrified of her power, all of them start swearing their undying loyalty to her one by one. However, May repeats their curses, which silences them again. Finally, one of the maids confesses that they were just jealous of all the extra time she got to spend with Light. May tells them that in the 3 months she spent with Light alone, she only educated him and trained him for combat. After explaining that she never did anything freaky with him, May says that she returned since she felt that her punishment was too harsh. However, after hearing the maid's ungrateful curses, she thinks that she made the right decision. May doubles down and increases their punishment to include the throne room as well. The maids pitifully beg her to have mercy, as May reminds them that they have the free time to curse her in their room. The maids finally accept their fate. After receiving their punishment, the maids quickly head out to clean the throne room, still complaining they didn't do anything wrong. They wonder if they can even finish cleaning before the next day. Suddenly, the creepy maid touches the the part that Nazuna broke, and it cracks and falls down in front of their horrified eyes. Meanwhile, Nazuka lies down on her bed to have a good night's sleep, unaware that she has just doomed all the maids to purgatory. Feeling sad that she didn't get to see Light, she wonders why he doesn't just send her to the surface to clean up the guys who hurt him. After venting her emotions, Nazuna closes her eyes to sleep. The next day, as Light walks out to enter the dungeon, he hears Ellie arguing with Nazuna. When he opens the entrance, Nazuna rushes to greet him, thinking that her wish from bedtime was granted. Ellie thinks there's no way Light would care about her, while Aoyuki approaches him like a cat. As he starts scratching her chin, the other girls feel jealous that she's getting so much special attention. Ellie invites Light to her bedroom, but he ignores her and tells the girls he's got some business in the dungeon. Suddenly, a hellhound beast approaches the group, making Light tremble in stress. As he recalls the first time seeing this beast, Light feels traumatized. While all the maids get dead serious, Nazuna warns the beast that she'll turn it into a bunch of sausages for hurting her master. While Ellie thinks they need to make its species extinct, even Aoyuki agrees to eliminating every single hellhound from the world, and the beast starts whimpering like a dog in front of their pressure. Light tells the girls to back off since he's fine and approaches the hellhound, knowing the girls really would have erased its bloodline. He pets the dog, while Ellie asks him what he came for. At her words, Light remembers that May has given him news that their first prey is ready. All the girls get excited, ready to help their master. Light steps out, preparing to start his revenge with the first of the 8 ruthless Concords who betrayed him. Meanwhile, in Garu's hometown, the villagers shamelessly bootlick him to get into his good books. While arrogantly striding through town, Garu notices a poor human trying to scavenge some trash, and he kicks him down just for fun. Then, he heads to a tavern and orders a feast with his lackeys, who praise him for rising through the ranks as an orphan and boosting their wolf tribe's status. Garu thinks that he became strong due to his natural sense of perception as a beastman, but his lackeys point out that his sense of perception is the strongest among them. Agreeing with their point, Garu admits that he can always sense which missions have the best rewards, so he's always able to make quick money. Curious, the lackeys ask him how much money he got from hunting Light from 3 years ago, but he says that it was a secret mission from the Federation, so he can't talk about it. Thinking back, Garu feels like slaying Light was the easiest job ever. He thinks that even though Light teleported away, there was no way he survived the dangerous abyss afterward. However, as he remembers that all the countries in their world are looking for a maestro, he wonders why they're so important. Suddenly, his tail shivers from a sense of danger, and Garu decides not to think about deep secrets too much. As his lackeys continue ordering drinks without a care, May interrupts their chatting. When she tries talking to Garu, his lackeys start screaming at her for talking to their master without permission. He silences them and asks May what she wants, so she introduces herself as Light's first maid. At his mention, Garu is shocked, and she tells him that she's been searching for her missing master. May explains that Light is actually from a noble family, and his family has been searching for him. Garu refuses to believe that a harmless wimp like Light could be from a noble family, but after May insists, he decides to listen to her. While he is excited to make money, May sheds tears, saying that her master might have perished in the treacherous abyss. In front of everyone's shocked eyes, she offers a briefcase full of pure gold if Garu helps her see the place where Light was last seen. Still feeling like it's a trap, Garu accepts the job since he thinks May can't threaten him as a human. On the surface, he acts like Light was a brother from his party, and he would help see him even without the money. Shedding tears, May thanks Garu for his generous offer. A month later, he takes May to the abyss. Once they finally reach the dungeon, May sweats hard, looking exhausted from all the travel. As Garu looks back at her, he feels a malicious hunger to complete the mission and use May's weakened body to his advantage at her master's grave. Once they finally reach the spot where the Concord betrayed Light, Garu tells May that it's where he lost his friend to a monster. As she falls to her knees in despair, Garu apologizes for his party's carelessness that led to the loss of their friend. He silently signals to his minions, who block the exit to the cave. While Garu thinks he's going to have a great time with the foolish girl, suddenly, May's voice turns cold. She says that it's a pity her master was brought to a dangerous dungeon, only to be betrayed by the scum party members. Hearing her cold words, a chill runs down Garu's spine, and he backs up in caution. While his lackeys look on in confusion, Garu realizes that May is setting up a trap for him, since nobody knows what happened to Light except the Concord and their higher-ups, thinking she's a spy from another country. Garou asks for May's identity. She scoffs, saying that she is only loyal to her master, Light. After declaring that she'll make Garou pay for his crimes, May looks back with a fierce glare that leaves him paralyzed with fear, thinking that human women are just pieces of meat to use. Garou feels shocked that May has the power to threaten him, as May stares at him like he's a piece of trash. Garou thinks he's dead. However, a hooded figure suddenly appears and stops her before she can take any action, as Light announces that he'll take revenge on Garou himself. Garou's minions start mocking him for threatening them as a pathetic human. Watching in horror, Garou is speechless as Light removes his hood to reveal his face. He smiles and waves at Garou's pack, while the minions wonder who he is, knowing that Light is only level 15. Garou starts laughing at his ideas of taking revenge on a level 150 monster like him. Unamused, Light watches as Garou threatens to use his corpse as a stepping stone for his achievements. However, Light points out that instead of carelessly threatening him, Garou should have been more cautious and asked how he survived the terrifying abyss. Garou agrees, but thinks that he can't threaten him even with May's help. Thinking that Light got lucky to meet her, he feels confident that they can't survive against his pack of level 130 minions. As Light agrees with Garou, his minions rush to attack him. Suddenly, a pile of limbs flies into the air after May effortlessly chops up the dogs, after declaring that anyone who threatens her master will be turned into dog food. May guards the dungeon's exit to prevent Garou from escaping. While his remaining minions start panicking, Garou tells them that May only used a sneak attack to catch them off guard, pointing out that humans can be way stronger than his imagination. Light mocks Garou for being so delusional. However, Garou arrogantly refuses to accept reality and says that he'll show Light the true power of beastmen. Light grows silent, thinking about the discrimination humans have to face because of their weakness. Garou thinks it's only natural that other races are superior, but Light reminds him that his maid just dismembered his minions. Garou says that she must have cheated with a magic item and charges at Light to shut him up. However, Light easily knocks all of them back with his staff. On the ground, Garou struggles to regain his bearings as Light walks up to him and mocks him for losing so easily. Feeling his pride hurt, Garou gets up and jumps back, and prepares to teach him a lesson with his ultimate power. He uses a magic crystal to summon a powerful level 500 Fenrir, but Light remains unimpressed while facing the magic beast. Seeing him so calm, Garou thinks that Light has lost his mind from fear. He taunts Light to get on his knees and beg for his life, but Light tells him he'll remain standing in the same spot to let his Fenrir attack. Angered by his taunt, Garou orders his beast to attack, and it starts charging a powerful spell. With a loud roar, the Fenrir unleashes a magic beam at Light, who remains standing on the spot. As the smoke clears, Garou feels confident that his monster vaporized Light. However, his jaw drops after Light appears completely unharmed from the blast. Light mocks Garou's Fenrir for just kicking up a bunch of dust in the air, while the beastmen stare in complete horror. As Garou realizes just how much trouble he's in, Light tells him that he'll show him a real Fenrir this time. He brings out an ultra-rare card that summons a level 9000 Fenrir Emperor, which completely dwarfs Garou's pathetic dog. At Light's order, his Fenrir blows some soft air, which flies towards Garou's Fenrir and freezes its entire body. The ice shatters in front of the beastmen, obliterating the fake Fenrir and any hints of Garou's remaining pride. Whimpering like a puppy, Garou asks Light if the powerful Fenrir was his trump card, but Light tells him that he could have easily defeated the Fenrir himself. He finally reveals his true level of 9999, leaving Garou trembling in fear. As his minions whisper that humans can only reach level 100, Garou thinks that Light is an imposter from another race acting as a human, pointing out that Light still has the body of a child. He says that any human would have grown in 3 years. Light reveals that he is wearing a bracelet of youth that stops him from aging, so he can always remind himself of the pain he suffered 3 years ago. Watching Light's cold eyes, Garou finally believes that he's the real person from 3 years back. Knowing he can't do anything against him power, Garou decides to grovel and beg for his life. He tells Light that he was only acting on someone's orders all those years ago, and blames his minions for trying to attack May. His enraged minions scream at him for throwing them under the bus, but Garou ignores them and asks Light for mercy. Light asks him who the maestros are, and Garou says that the Federation ordered him and the others to search for for them. As Light asks why they're searching for maestros, Garou explains that he wasn't told the reason. Then, Light demands to know why they tried to dispose of him after making sure he wasn't a maestro. And Garou remains silent once again. He swears he truly doesn't know anything, but his minions claim that they have some information to save their lives. However, Mei cuts them all to pieces for lying. Then Light turns his attention to Garou, saying he has one more question. He asks Garou if he could win a war against all the races with his power, but before Garou can answer, Light reminds him that Mei can see through lies with her eye of truth skill. Terrified, Garou admits that even with his overwhelming stats, he couldn't defeat all 9 races alone, as they've spent hundreds of years stockpiling weapons, armor, and magical items. At his answer, Light nods, agreeing that a single person can't take on the entire world even if they reach level 999. This leaves Garou confused, and Light tells him that he has some more questions for him once they arrive at his base. He uses a teleportation card that surrounds them all and takes them away, leaving the dungeon floor as a bloodied mess. After opening his eyes, Garou looks around to find himself surrounded by powerful figures everywhere. All of the powerful beasts, maids, and soldiers pay their respects to Light as he walks forward to his throne. After Light ascended the stairs and sat on his throne, Light told his servants to stand straight and show their stats. All of the servants release their auras, with everyone over thousands of levels, each beyond Garou's comprehension. Even the lowest guards are at level 1500, while Light's leading maids are all maxed out at 9999. He tells Garou that these are all his soldiers that he has prepared in the last 3 years, asking if the forces are enough to defeat all the kingdoms on the surface. As Garou struggles to keep his sanity, Light repeats his question, but he gets his answer from the absolute horror on the beastman's face. He smiles and tells Garou that this overwhelming despair is his punishment for what he did, while Garou thinks that he can obliterate the world at the drop of a hat. With tears in his eyes, he thinks that Light is the strongest person in the world, and even thinks that he's like a deity. As Light notices his expression, Garou asks him if he's trying to become a god. Gripping his staff, Light says that he thinks it's a good idea. In his eyes, the people who tried to hurt him are all hiding something from him, so he thinks he'll become godlike if that's what he needs to get his answers. Light summons his gacha gift, saying it gives him the power to control the world, and declares that he will judge if the world deserves punishment based on the answers it gives him. With his empire ready to fight, he orders his soldiers to head out of the abyss, beginning their war march against the 9 races. The next day, the first thing Light does after going to the surface is visit his hometown. Light eagerly runs to greet his family, but everyone is horrified to see the entire village razed to the ground by an evil party. After this traumatic setback, Light makes a spiritual grave for his departed family. As he pays his respects to everyone, Light is grateful that he didn't find his siblings' bodies, so they might still be alive. Behind him, a knight called Gold tells him to hurry up since he doesn't have all day to cry for him. Nimumu gets offended by Gold's insensitive comments on their master. While the two of them bicker, Light wonders if they like each other, or are genuinely just arch nemeses. Meanwhile, Gold points out that being too polite can look fake, and nobody wants to sleep out in the open grass fields. However, Nimumu is totally ready to spend time with Light wherever he goes. Her determination hurts Gold's pride, who also declares that he'd follow his master to the deepest pits of the underworld since he has sworn complete loyalty to him. Still, he doesn't feel like sleeping in the open, and Light breaks their conversation, reminding them that they need to find out who destroyed his village. He thinks that although their military power is enough to defeat all of the 9 races combined, they shouldn't act until they've learned more about the hidden strengths of the other nations. In Light's mind, the destruction of his village is also related to the hidden powers of the world, who are interested in his master's status. Angered by the loss of his parents, Light releases a bloodthirsty aura, but Gold reminds him to keep it in check. He agrees and puts on a fool's mask accessory to hide his identity, promising his parents that he'll avenge them. Once they're done with preparations, the trio starts flying towards the city of Dagas. On their way, Nimumu accidentally calls Light by his real name, so Gold reminds her that she should call him Dark to hide his real identity from the 9 races. Light thinks that he should raise his adventurer rank as Dark in order to get more secret intel from the guild. His 2 servants agree with his plan, and they soon spot the city of Dagas. In order to avoid making a scene, they land on the ground and walk the rest of the way on foot. However, they encounter a group of bandits mugging a poor merchant and his son. The bandits immediately notice the shining gold knight staring at their faces and instantly call him out. Nemamu gets angry at Gold for causing trouble, but he laughs and easily ties up the bandits. Overjoyed to be saved, the merchant thanks Light and his party by allowing them to ride his carriage to Daga's. While they ride, the merchant's son praises Gold and Nemamu for defeating the dwarves so easily, but she tells him that their master is even cooler than they are. Meanwhile, the merchant feels curious if Light's party is an experienced group that will explore the Daga's dungeon, since it's the city's specialty. Light tells him that they're not registered yet. The man is shocked to hear this and offers them some information on the world's countries. It turns out that Daga's is a town on the Dwarven Kingdom's southern border, which is next to the Human Kingdom to the east and the Elven Kingdom to the south. Although all three kingdoms have had beef in the past, the Daga's dungeon has some great loot which has attracted adventurers from all over the region. As the merchant finishes his explanation, they reach the Daga's gate, and Light's party gets off to walk the rest of the distance. Before leaving, the merchant introduces himself as Colonel and invites their party to stay the night in his inn if they need a place. Meanwhile, they start heading to the Adventurers Guild, noticing all the dwarven blacksmith shops on the way. Once they enter the guild, Light's party feels surprised by all the people there, but everyone else starts avoiding them like the plague. Light realizes that humans like him are treated poorly in this city as well, but he decides to register anyway. The guild receptionist starts him off at an F rank, which completely pisses off Nemamu. She starts yelling at the poor receptionist to give her master an S rank, but the receptionist reminds her that everyone has to start off at the lowest rank. Thankfully, Light steps in and accepts his ranking before Nemamu can embarrass herself even further. Once they're finished with the registration, she starts crying because she made her master look bad in public. Gold rubs even more salt in her wounds, so Light stops him from bullying her. Afterward, they head to Colonel's inn to get some rooms. His son happily leads the group to his father, who asks if he can do them any favors. Light asks Colonel if he can rent out the entire top floor of his inn for complete privacy, even from the staff, as payment. He offers Colonel a huge bag of gold, but he refuses to take money from somebody who saved his life. However, Light insists, so Colonel accepts his generous payment and agrees to arrange the top floor for him. Once Light is in the top room, he casts a bunch of magic spells to isolate his space from the outside world for complete privacy. As he stretches freely in his chair, Nemamu asks him if it's truly safe for Light to explore the surface while exposing himself. She thinks that he should just stay in the safe fortress of the abyss and let them handle the work on the surface. But Light stops her. He asks Nemamu if she's going to stop him from personally taking revenge and gets up in rage. Feeling his anger, she realizes she has committed a grave mistake and instantly drops to her knees to apologize. While Light coldly glares at Nemamu, Gold breaks the tension in the room with his charming laugh. It breaks Light's rage as well, and he gets down to comfort Nemamu. However, she still thinks that she has gone too far as his servant, so she decides to retake her pledge of loyalty as an apology. Nemamu gets down to kiss her master's feet, and Light silently allows her, feeling embarrassed by the unnecessary ritual. Watching her get into it, Gold wonders if Nemamu is secretly enjoying licking his feet, which ruins the atmosphere even more. The next day, the group starts heading out to the Daga's dungeon. As everyone around him notices the strange mask, Light realizes that his disguise isn't perfect. Unfortunately, they're too late to enter first, so they have to wait in line like a bunch of peasants. Gold notices that there aren't many elves in line, so Light points out that the Elven Kingdom has been at war with the dwarves over this dungeon, so tensions are high. Nemamu praises her Light's brilliant detective skills, but he asks her if it's appropriate to press her chest against his back, as she says that it's absolutely necessary to protect his rear. A shady bunch of adventurers cuts in line in front of them. Watching the three hooded figures, Light deduces that two of them are a couple of chumps, but their big leader is a serious threat. Even some of the other adventurers consider calling them out for cutting in line. Light gets in front and asks them to get back in line politely. The elf leader gets offended and asks Light if he knows who he's talking to. Naturally, Light points out that he doesn't know them since they're literally hiding their faces under their hoods. He also notes that if he's someone of high status, he shouldn't be doing shady activities that would ruin his family name. Backing their master, Gold and Nemamu also tell the adventurer to get out of the way, but the elf thinks that they're just a bunch of insects. Before he can unsheath his greatsword, his partner stops him, reminding him not to make a scene. When the hooded elf finally gives up and leaves, the rest of the adventurers thank Light's party for removing him. The party in front of Light apologizes for being unable to stand up to them, but Light says he just got rid of the trouble for everyone. They feel a bit better from his comfort, before one of them curiously asks if Gold's armor is truly made out of gold. The party leader silences his blabbermouth member, but it's already too late, as Nimumu explains that his armor isn't actually made of gold, since gold is too soft to make strong armor, but Gold doesn't mind using just the color. Then, the kids ask Light if it's his first time entering the dungeon, and he confirms it. The kid isn't surprised since everyone else brings lots of camping supplies for the long trips into the dungeon. Since Light's party is the only one looking underprepared, he figured out that they're new here. Once it's his party's turn, the kids say goodbyes and enters the dungeon, while Light's party realizes that they should take out some of their resources from their magic item box just to avoid suspicion later. Soon, it's Light's turn, and they head inside the massive dungeon. Nimumu is impressed by the dungeon's massive size, wondering how they can all turn out so different while following the same concept. Light notes that they need to access the dungeon's core to find out its secrets, but even Ellie the researcher can't pull it off. Gold thinks that there's no way they can do anything with Nimumu tagging along, so Light reminds him that he's also useless for the task. As they head deeper into the dungeon, the concentration of mana grows stronger, and the dark, cold prison area shifts into a vibrant, thriving world full of life. Gold appreciates the exotic wildlife, while Nimumu notices that there aren't any people snooping around their location. To begin their exploration, Light quickly casts some conceal and buff spells on his party. With the help of his buffs, they begin flying around the dense forest. Meanwhile, in the ground, the arrogant elf from before faces off against some powerful orcs surrounding him. Thinking about the humiliation from Light's party, the elf from before, called Kaido, rips apart the beasts one by one. He screams that he deserves better treatment. He's the youngest white knight in the elf kingdom and the descendant of a legendary hero. His servant, called Yanok, stops him from his pointless rampage, reminding him that their target is the third, not the first floor. However, Kaido points his sword at his own butler, thinking there's no way he can forget the humiliation from before. Kaido says that the only reason he isn't getting more respect is that his level is capped at 1500. But Yanok points out that he has already surpassed the normal level cap for elves. He refuses to accept this, saying that a master descendant like him is supposed to have limitless potential. Seeing his young master so frustrated, Yanok acts like he feels so much sympathy for him, saying that he also got exiled from his country because of his experiments on breaking their limits, as Kaido demands that he make him level up. Yanok grins creepily as he accepts his request. Kaido turns around, thinking he'll get rid of this crafty dark elf once he has used him to level up. Meanwhile, Light's party finishes butchering a group of trolls on the third floor. They decide to take the magic gems out of the monsters as proof of exploring the third floor before heading back. Noticing that her master got dirty from the fight, Nimumu offers to help him clean up. Once they fly back to the first floor, Light thinks they should start walking since Gold's bright armor attracts too much attention. However, they notice the weak party from earlier fighting some goblins. Gold notes that the party is strong enough to defeat the weak prey, but Light realizes that they missed a hidden enemy. As the young party turns around, they find Light pinning a bush snake with his staff. He reminds them to be careful since the snake could have paralyzed one of them and left them defenseless against the stronger monsters. Feeling grateful for Light's assistance, the kids thank him, but he suddenly gets serious after noticing another enemy. From a distance, a pack of dangerous bush wolves jumps out of the forest, shocking the kids. As they start panicking, Light tells them that the wolves mean no harm. In front of their eyes, the wolves simply avoid them and run away. Horrified, the kids finally realizes that the real enemy Light mentioned wasn't the wolves, but a four-scythed mantis behemoth. Shocked, the kids wonder how the mantis appeared, since its species went extinct over 10 years ago. As the kids prepare to run away from the monster, Light asks them if he can just hunt it for himself. Nimumu notes that the mantis is level 500, and the kids ask their group to leave, thinking it's too powerful for them. Soon, the mantis charges at them, and Gold takes the lead to block its attack. After exchanging blows with the mantis, Gold realizes it's not an enemy to be underestimated. Then, Light uses a fire arrow arrow spell against it, but it reflects the arrow with its tough scythe. Watching the battle, the leader of the kids asks his mage, Mia, to help, but she starts glazing light because he cast a spell without any incantation. He tells her to focus on helping them instead, but Gold reassures them that he'll be fine. Getting ready to fight, he tells the kids to pay attention as he combines attack and defense to defeat the mantis. As if hearing Gold's words, the mantis attacks him again to begin the fight. Gold easily blocks its strike with his shield, shattering its scythe from the rebound. Taking advantage of its shock, he rushes to slash off one of the mantis' legs. Next, Light decides it's his turn to show off, and he unleashes a barrage of fire arrows that shoot towards the mantis. As it tries to deflect the attacks, the arrows curve and avoid its scythes, spearing into the monster's back. Mia watches in awe as Light controls over 30 homing arrows, gathering them to destroy the mantis. Feeling overwhelmed, the monster runs off to protect itself. However, Light stops the poor bug with a firewall, so it jumps above the flames to fly off. Finally, Nemamu jumps after the mantis, easily getting to a higher height. Clutching her daggers, she slashes it apart in a single strike, shattering it into pieces. While Nemamu feels smug about her achievement, Gold mocks her for acting like a kid. As she gets angry, he reminds her that she chopped all of the precious monster materials apart. The realization sends her into a panic, while the kids watch in shock, wondering how powerful Light's team is to easily defeat such a ferocious beast. After Nemamu apologizes to Light for her failure, the kids search the mantis' remains and find a perfectly intact monster gem. Gold praises their luck, glad that Nemamu's reckless strike didn't shatter the precious material. Seeing the core, Light thinks it'll be enough proof to submit to the guild and increase their rank. Meanwhile, the kids asks Light if they're in a ranked party trying to increase their rank. However, Light tells him that they're actually F rank, which sends the entire party into an existential crisis. Then, Mia creates a giant water bubble with her magic to help Light's team clean up. Gold tells her his shiny armor is as brilliant as ever, so Light steps up to wash his dirty hands. He asks the rest of the kids to wash up with him, grateful for their little gift. The kids tell it's no big deal since he literally just saved their lives. Then, they offer to let Light stay with them during the night since it's getting dark. Light doesn't wish to burden the kids, but their leader reveals that his sister Mia is itching to learn about his insane magic techniques. Seeing her eager look, Light agrees to stay and joins them around a campfire to have dinner. Light tells Mia that his parents are genius mages, saying that she also has a lot of talent for magic. She smiles, saying her abilities aren't nearly as impressive as voiceless spells. Her brother wonders if chantless casting is really that impressive, so she starts geeking out about the 3 different classes of magic. She explains that combat class spells like the fire arrows are used for single targets, while tactical skills like the firewall are used for crowd control. She also reveals that there are strategic class spells that can have global impacts. However, global spells are at the level of natural disasters, so it takes several high-level mages chanting them at once to successfully cast them. She explains that races like dragonutes, elves, and demonkin can easily cast spells because of their natural talents, but humans aren't so blessed. That's why she thinks that Light is a world-class prodigy, since he can cast spells without reciting the incantation, despite being a mere human. Gold nods, appreciating her knowledge, while Light awkwardly laughs off her praise. Finally, after Mia settles down, her brother says that no matter his powers, Light seems like a kind man. To cheer up his sister, he tells her she'll surely succeed after getting admitted into the duchy's magic school. While Mia is embarrassed, Light gets curious about the duchy, since it's the joint nation created by all 9 races. Gold also thinks that Mia must be quite talented if she can get admitted to the best magic school in the world. Her brother explains that although she got admission, she could never study at the school because their parents, who were paying for her tuition, died in an epidemic. Thus, the 2 of them were left to fend for themselves and created an adventuring party with Gimra and Wordy to earn money. However, he feels hopeful that with enough money, he can eventually send Mia to study at the duchy's academy and fulfill her dreams. Feeling like a burden, Mia tells her party to take it easy instead of focusing so much on her. Watching the brother and sister take care of each other, Light remembers his own younger sister. He tells the kids to keep going, since he believes that they'll make it big with their talents. Light also praises Mia's talents, but she thinks that he's just being nice to her. However, he assures her he's serious, and his words give her a bit of confidence. Soon after, the party leader asks Light why he chose chose to become an adventurer, and Light begins to recount what happened to his family. Nemamu tells them that the fire that killed Light's family left him with burn marks, so they're traveling with him to get his treatment. Gold explains that he and Nemamu received help from Light's family, which is why they're helping him to pay off their debt. As Light's tragic backstory finishes, the group's cheerful atmosphere suddenly burns out. To change the subject, Gimra curiously asks if Nemamu and Gold are married. Nemamu instantly rejects this idea, saying there's no way she'd ever like a narcissist like Gold. Gold agrees, saying that he also doesn't like her since she has both the body and attitude of a little brat. Thinking he's got a chance, Gimra proposes to Nemamu, but she tells him her heart belongs to Light. Gold chimes in, saying that it would be the biggest waste in the world if she dirtied their master, and they continue bickering throughout the night. Somewhere else, Kaido cuts down a monster, and Yanak praises him. However, Kaido gets mad at him, saying his legendary sword Grandius is made for slaying heroes, not weed whacking. To calm him down, the Dark Elf reminds him that he needs the samples from these monsters for his research on breaking the level limit. With the monster samples complete, Yanak thinks it's time they start collecting samples from the human race next. A few weeks later, Light returns to the Adventurers Guild with a bunch of resources he got from the dungeon. The receptionist fawns over Light for the precious materials, and Nemamu tells her that her master definitely deserves an S+ rank for his achievements. Light ignores his overzealous servant and asks the receptionist to prepare the payment for the materials, so she tells him to have some tea while he waits. As they return from the guild, Light's servants notice how much the guild's attitude has changed. While they walk through the city, everyone in the street whispers about them, knowing that they defeated the fearsome Manties. As Light feels pleased with the fame he has gained, a group of adventurers gathered near the dungeon asks if he's from the Black Motley. This name confuses Light, so the adventurers explain that the townsfolk have given this name to his party. Nemamu instantly gets in front of them, thinking they have ulterior motives. However, the adventurers assure her they mean no harm and introduce themselves as Suvalin and Gilbert. Suvalin wants to know how Light got so deep in the dungeon and defeated the Manties, but Gilbert doubts that the news is actually true. This enrages Nemamu, who points her dagger at his throat and asks if he's calling her master a liar. To calm her down, Suvalin explains that they're just trying to cheer for them. This confuses Light, so he explains that the human race has gained hope after seeing a strong party from their side. As he explains this, Suvalin's party calls him to join, so he leaves to wait in line with them. Nearby, the adventurers from the other races get angry, thinking that humans are delusional for having hope. As Nemamu notices their low opinion of them, Gold says that they'll just silence them with more results. Once it's Light's party's turn, they enter the dungeon, and he thinks they should head straight to the 5th floor. However, they spot Mia's party while flying, so they head down to check on them. Happy to see them, Mia's brother pushes her to the front, saying that she has something to show Light. Hesitating, she gives Light a strange cream, explaining that she made it for his burn wounds. She thinks that even though it won't heal the burn scars, it can help him with the pain. Light thinks about it, so Mia thinks he doesn't want her gift. However, he accepts it with a smile and decides to return the favor. Light summons a card from his gacha, which turns into a pretty bracelet. He offers it to her, but she hesitates to accept it. With some encouragement, she finally puts the bracelet on her hands, pleased with how pretty it looks, saying that she'll treasure his gift forever. Mia thanks Light with a smile before his party leaves. Later that night, Nemamu asks Light if it was a good idea to give an SSR rank wish bracelet to Mia. Gold tells her that the wish bracelet can make a person's wish come true if they desire it enough. He thinks Light did the right thing by returning the young girl's favor, and Nemamu realizes that not everything is about material value. Once Light's party reaches the snow-covered 5th floor, they notice that there aren't many people there. Gold thinks that the quiet floor is great for hiding their presence, but Nemamu reminds him that his glaring gold armor isn't helping at all. Turning around, Light reminds them that they need to hunt yetis. After leaving them to their task, he teleports back home. Once he returns, the loyal 4 maids greet him in the palace. May takes Light to have tea and asks how his adventure is going. He tells her it's going fine and asks about the maids' preparations for their final war. Ellie tells him they're almost done, so Light wonders if he even needed to return home. He tells the girls to use any resources they need and continue their jobs, but Nazuna asks him what her special mission should be, knowing she's too stupid to trust with a complex plan. Light tells her to just guard the castle until her time comes. Itching for her turn to contribute, Mizuna tells Ellie to quickly finish her job since she can't make a move before her. With the prep almost done, Light sips his tea, looking forward to destroying Sasha. Meanwhile, Suvalin's party rests on the dungeon's 3rd floor at night. Suvalin asks Gilbert what he thinks about the rumors behind Light, so Gilbert says there's no way he's so powerful. However, Suvalin reminds him that they have Mia as a witness, so it's possible that Light is a reincarnation of some powerful hero. The thought of a human hero returning to the world and leading their race to victory gives both of them hope. Then, Suvalin leaves to use the bathroom in the forest. Once he returns, he calls out to Gilbert, but finds his friend's decapitated head lying on the ground. He finds Kaido standing there impatiently, angry that Suvalin took so long to return, realizing that his men died without a fight. Suvalin thinks he has no chance of surviving against the powerful elf. Meanwhile, Kaido stomps on Gilbert's head, trying to taunt Suvalin into getting angry. However, Suvalin remains calm and uses a smoke grenade to escape. While running away, he thinks that the elf can't see him to use his magic, but Kaido somehow spots him through the smoke. Flying with a magic spell, he easily knocks down Suvalin with an attack, leaving the man completely shocked. As Suvalin notices the elf hovering with his spell, Yanak takes him out with his rod. He scolds Kaido for killing all the humans since he needed live subjects for his experiments. Kaido thinks that one subject should be enough, but Yanak says that he needs more since his experiments could always result in failures. The sinister dark elf grins maniacally, thinking that humans are just worthless vermin who deserve to be the fodder for his twisted experiments. Meanwhile, Nimamu argues with the Adventurers Guild receptionist to raise Light's rank. The receptionist tells her that they just raised his rank straight to D from F, so she can't make any more exceptions. However, Nimamu still thinks her master deserves the S rank, while Gold tells her she's ruining his image with her bratty attitude. To calm Nimamu down, the receptionist tells her she can raise Light's rank even further if he performs a huge feat, which gives him an idea. Later that night, Light shows his servants a wanted poster of an unknown adventurer killer who has been terrorizing humans. Gold thinks that such a high-value criminal could easily get them the promotion, but Light wonders how to search for this mysterious person. Gold suggests pulling his gacha for a tracker card, so Light reminds him that the chances of pulling a good tracker in a short time are too low. While they discuss their plans, suddenly, a portal opens up in their room. Light watches in shock as an unconscious Mia drops out of the portal and the bracelet on her hand breaks apart. He quickly puts the girl in a bed to rest and uses a healing spell to restore her health. After healing Mia, Light decides to check her memories since she's too exhausted to speak. From her memories, he learns that Mia's party met a group of adventurers who warned them about the adventurer killer. The kids wondered if the humans were just targeted by a monster, but the party told them that the killer used multiple magic spells, so they were clearly an intelligent person. After telling the kids to spread the word to other humans, the party left the dungeon. To avoid being targeted, Mia's party also started hiking out of the dungeon. At night, Mia's brother noticed that everyone was tired after fighting all day. Left with no other choice, he allowed them to camp out in the middle of the dangerous dungeon. Suddenly, a group of mysterious figures showed up, and among them, Yanak asked the kids why they were out so late. The kids recognized Yanak's group, so they didn't think they posed any danger. Feeling concerned for their safety, they decided to warn them about the mysterious adventurer killer. As Mia's brother informed them about the killer, they thanked him for his kind warning. Seeing their friendly reaction, the kids felt safe around the elves. However, Kaido suddenly said he should have covered up his actions, shocking the kids. As the two elves complained about their information spreading to the outside world, the kids wondered what was going on. Suddenly, Yanak's voice turned cold, and Kaido pulled out his sword, exposing himself as the adventurer killer. The kids felt their blood run cold, and the boys told Mia to run while they held off the elves. Seeing his bravery, Kaido felt enraged as Mia's brother charged at him. He mercilessly slashed the young boy's stomach, and Mia screamed in grief at her brother's death. Then, the other two boys tried to hold off Kaido, but he slashed them down as well. Watching them heavily injured, Mia felt frozen to the spot. However, the injured boys got back up and tried to fight to protect Mia. Seeing her remaining friends rush toward their deaths, Mia screamed for them to stop. Ignoring her cries, they kept going, but Kaido ruthlessly cut them down despite Yanak's warning. When the two fell dead, Yanak scolded Kaido for killing his test subjects. Kaido scoffed, saying that he never planned to spare anyone who dared prepared to fight for their life. Yanak still felt upset by his reckless actions, so Kaido reminded him that he had left Miya alive. So he turns to the girl and tells Yanak that he could have some fun with her. However, Yanak felt disgusted by his behavior and left him alone to enjoy his twisted fantasies. When Kaido prepares to violate the poor girl, Miya tells Kaido to back away from her, but the narcissistic elf thought he was doing her a favor. Thinking that an inferior human like her didn't deserve his favor, he starts mocking Miya and tells her to thank him. The terrified girl resigned herself to her fate, but suddenly, her brother's weak voice rang out. Surprised, Kaido looks back and sees that Miya's brother somehow survived the deadly slash. His ability to survive so long caught Yanak's interest, so he tells Kaido he wants the boy for his research. Although Kaido felt annoyed, he agreed to let the boy live. Meanwhile, Miya's brother tries to convince her to escape one last time, and she shed tears watching him sacrifice himself. Finally, she gets up to run, and Yanak tells Kaido to capture his target. Grumbling that he didn't like his orders, Kaido prepares to catch her, but Miya's brother tried to attack him. As Kaido shrugged off his weak attack, Yanak reminded him that he needed both siblings alive. Kaido nodded, thinking it was too difficult to capture moving targets. However, Miya's brother started mumbling about battle strategies, which left the elf confused as he recalled Gold's advice to use a shield and sword together. Miya's brother decided to combine both his offense and defense. The strategy gives him a burst of confidence, and he charged at Kaido. The shocked elf barely avoids the young boy's surprising speed, but suddenly he brought his shield out of nowhere and knocked him to the ground. As the proud elf landed on his butt, he stared at Miya's brother, who laughed in triumph. Enraged by the blow to his pride, Kaido took out his anger by piercing the little boy with a full power strike. As the poor boy gasps from the unimaginable pain, Kaido marched to finish him off, but Yanak stopped him. He reminded the enraged narcissist to catch Miya before she could spread the news outside the dungeon. As Miya blindly rushes to the dungeon's exit, Kaido's sword suddenly blocks her way. As he hovers behind her, he declared that he'd punish her for trying to escape. Kaido proudly revealed that he could corner her because of the Elven Kingdom's greatest treasure, Grandius, while Miya looked on in horror. As he approached her, Miya decided to do everything she could to escape for the sake of her friends. After focusing intensely, she summoned an icicle spell to attack Kaido, but he easily shattered it. Using the moment of distraction, Miya tried to run again, but Kaido knocked her down. He proudly told the girl she should accept her fate as a legendary hero's servant. However, she firmly told him that he's a loser who could only bully the weak. Hearing her words, Kaido got stunned and recalled all the times his fellow elves mocked him. Since Kaido acted like a prick around them, they all hated him and called him a bully who rose to the top using his status. While he recalled the hurtful memories, Miya kept calling him a spineless piece of trash, which enraged him even more. Unable to bear his hurt ego, he unleashed a powerful attack to finish her off. At that moment, Miya desperately wished Light was there. Just then, her bracelet activated and teleported her outside the dungeon. As the memory finally ends, Light clutches Miya's bracelet in his hand. Gold and Nemamu ask him what to do next, and he quietly tells them to move out. Back in the dungeon, Yanak finishes healing Miya's brother. When Kaido returns, Yanak asks him if he captured Miya, but Kaido has no idea where she went. Yanak is shocked that an elite elf soldier could lose track of a child, so Kaido tells him she randomly teleported into thin air. Shocked, Yanak refuses to believe him, since he thinks a human couldn't possibly own a precious teleportation item. Yanak realizes they're in deep trouble. He tells Kaido that if the human guild spreads this news, the elves might hear about him. Kaido also gets terrified thinking about it, since he actually stole Grandius away from the Elven Kingdom. He thinks about the terrifying elf White Knight army, whose leader is at level 3000 with a weapon surpassing his own. Feeling like he's doomed, Kaido starts stomping the ground. Yanak tries to calm him down, saying that they can fight back against the Elven army if he succeeds in his level limit breaking research. This gives Kaido some hope, and Yanak tells him to quickly hide so he can complete his research. Suddenly, Light appears in front of them, saying their time is up. Kaido recalls Light from the time he was humbled by him outside the dungeon, so he feels wary of him. However, Light ignores them and gently closes Gimra and Wordy's eyes, feeling sad for the bright young lives that were lost. Behind him, Gold informs him that Mia's brother, Ilio, is still alive. Watching the boy in Gold's arms, Yanak gets shocked since he was just treating him on the ground. Light heals the young boy and asks the elves why they inflicted so much suffering on the innocent children, as he recalls the young boys trying their best to earn money and support Mia's education. Light feels angered that it is all gone, thinking that he could have been friends with the boys in a different world. He turns around to make the elves pay for their crimes. Seeing his anger, Kaido tells him they're innocent. However, Light tells them that he saw Mia's memories, so he knows they're the culprits. This leaves the elves stunned, so Light reassures them that he hasn't reported anything to the Adventurers Guild. At this news, Kaido starts laughing, thinking he's got a lucky break. Thinking he can easily kill Light to silence him, Kaido says that fate has protected him from misfortune because he's a hero. Light laughs, saying that the reason he didn't tell the guild is that he wants Kaido for himself. He tells the royal scumbag that he'll make him suffer pain worse than death for hurting his friends. Finally, Light firmly declares that he'll end Kaido's life with his own hands after punishing him, and tells Gold and Nemamu to stay out of his fight. As they back off, Light starts walking towards Kaido. Enraged that a human cursed him out, Kaido tries to attack Light with his sword. However, he easily stops his attack in its tracks with just his staff. As Yanak stares in shock, Light taunts Kaido, asking if that's all he's got. Angered, he keeps blindly slashing at Light, who effortlessly blocks every single strike. Watching the battle, Yanak thinks there's no way that a human child can defend against an elf soldier's attacks so easily. Meanwhile, Kaido keeps swinging his sword, desperately hoping to hit Light with a lucky strike. Light sighs before parrying his sword away. Then, he punches Kaido straight in the gut, knocking the wind out of his lungs. Light taunts him, saying that he should try not to die from his practice punches. Despite getting thrashed like a kid, Kaido still thinks he's superior to humans. He gets back up and summons his Grandius, which creates several magic swords in the sky. With the magic weapon's power, Kaido thinks he's invincible against Light and launches the swords towards him. The attack's power surprises Light, so he starts dodging them. As each sword strike lands on the ground, it creates a different elemental effect. However, Nemamu still thinks that Light can handle it with ease. In the air, Light praises the sword's power, but he thinks it's not powerful enough to threaten him. Suddenly, Kaido appears behind him, so he quickly blocks his attack. Watching Light block it, Yanak feels disbelief that he defended an all-out strike from Kaido's magic sword. Finally, Kaido accuses Light of cheating, saying that he fights like a warrior, even though he's dressed up as a mage. He starts stomping his foot in anger, thinking that humans are a bunch of scumbags who cheat their way to victory. Confused, Light tells him that he is indeed a mage, but Kaido refuses to believe him. Watching the elf so frustrated, Gold feels pity for Kaido, since Light's unlimited cards allow him to fight in any situation. Suddenly, Light creates multiple ice swords to attack Kaido, who tries to block it with his Grandius. The ice spikes rush forth, easily destroying each of Grandius's clones in front of the shocked elves. Refusing to give up, Kaido unleashes one final strike at Light, but Light destroys it along with the rest of his hopes and dreams. Seeing Light manipulate his ice swords as a barrier against Kaido's attack, Yanak felt numb from witnessing such overwhelming power. Finally, Light asks Kaido if he's done throwing his tantrum, and Kaido goes insane with rage. The arrogant elf thinks there's no way a human can defeat him, wondering how the Grandius can lose despite being a weapon used by a former maestro. Hearing the name of a maestro, Light gets surprised and asks Kaido what he knows about them. Kaido laughs and reveals that he was born with the blood of maestro, which makes him a sub-maestro himself. Hearing that Kaido's body is holding some interesting secrets, Light decides to capture him and Yanak to experiment on them, as he plans to suck all the secrets out of their brains. Gold and Nemamu corner Yanak. However, the scientist doesn't get scared in the slightest, and instead summons two horrific blood monsters. As the monsters take shape, he proudly brags about fusing several humans and monsters to create the vicious abominations. For the first monster, Yanak fused a rock lizard from the Elven lands, while he created the other one from a dungeon troll. When Light looks at the troll monster, he realizes that one of its faces belongs to the hopeful adventurer, Gilbert. Both Gold and Nemamu feel disgusted by Yanak's horrific experiments, while he says that fusing different creatures is the best way to surpass their level limits. However, Yanak claims claims that he needs multiple humans to stabilize an experimental monster, so he needs thousands more to create his perfect Frankenstein. Watching him arrogantly blab about his crimes, Light clenches his staff in anger as Yanak starts yapping that he's the hero who will lead the races into a new era. Light tells him to shut up. This snaps him out of his tantrum, while Light tells Gold and Nemamu to put the human monsters out of their misery. He tells them to capture Yanak alive since he needs to be punished for his crimes. As the two of them get ready to fight, Yanak confidently calls his monsters to battle them. However, they slash through both monsters with just a single attack, finally liberating the tortured people trapped within them. As the monsters go down, the duo prepares to capture Yanak, but he remains calm. Somehow, the mutated monsters stand back up and easily regenerate their fatal wounds. While Yanak continues to boast, his monsters continue attacking the duo. Meanwhile, Kaido attacks Light to prevent him from helping them, so Gold and Nemamu are left to fight alone. Facing the monster's true power, Gold taunts Nemamu for losing her confidence, but she reminds him that he has also gotten serious. As the creatures continue driving them back, Yanak tells them to surrender and let him peacefully experiment on their bodies. Ignoring the insane elf, both of them decide to attack head-on and liberate the trapped people. After summoning their full power, Nemamu and Gold unleash their ultimate attacks, which wrap the monsters with their bright flames, thinking that his beasts will easily shrug it off. Yanak keeps laughing. This time, his monsters don't regenerate, so he finally feels confused. Soon, the bright flames melt his hybrid monsters into a gooey puddle, and Yanak starts panicking. Suddenly, Nemamu kicks him in his twisted nuts, bringing him down to his knees. Watching the pathetic scientist frothing on the ground, Gold feels bad for him, while Nemamu thinks she needs to blowtorch her shoe to clean it. On the other hand, as Light forces Kaido back, the elf stares at him with fearful eyes. Light taunts him, reminding him of his arrogant bluster. Hearing his taunt, Kaido remembers Elio's smug face when he counterattacked against him. Angered to the max, Kaido gets back up to fight. He raises his sword into the air and unleashes its maximum power, which creates a raging beam of energy. Revealing that this is Grandious's final power, he proudly tells Light to submit to him. Light is impressed by Kaido's power as Kaido launches a devastating cleave at him. Although Light dodges the attack, the sword leaves a gigantic crevice in the ground. Kaido keeps slashing at him, desperately hoping to win with one attack. As the sword keeps curving around him, Light realizes that the sword has transformed itself into a flexible whip with its magic. Watching the scene from a distance, Nemamu thinks that although the technique is impressive for Kaido's level, it can't even scratch Light's body. While continuing to dodge the attacks, Light tells Kaido that it's just a flashy performance. Enraged, Kaido tells him to face the attacks instead of dodging them, and so Light stops in his tracks and challenges Kaido to hurt his body with his strongest attack. Instead of realizing it's a trap, Kaido jumps up and slashes the sword down at Light, thinking he's strong enough to pulverize him. When the massive sword strikes Light, Kaido immediately loses all confidence after seeing what happens. Realizing Light is completely unharmed, he goes berserk and attacks him over and over. Kaido's tiny mind can't believe that a human would be unharmed after his strongest attack, so Light just shatters his magic blade with one blow. Then, he punches Kaido in the gut and sends him flying with another strike. As the elf struggles with his bloody face, Light tells him he's going to interrogate him. He calmly tells Kaido that he will only kill him once he has suffered enough for his crimes. Hearing this, the defeated elf finally drops to his knees. He begs Light to spare his life in exchange for all his secrets and the Grandius treasure. However, Light mocks him, saying that true heroes should fight to the end instead of begging for their lives like spineless cowards. He reminds Kaido that real heroes are like the young children he mercilessly slayed, who sacrificed themselves just for a chance to save their friend. Refusing to let him go, Light tells Kaido he'll spare his life if he fights him again and damages even a single inch of his skin. Despite his offer, Kaido remains terrified and starts running away. Watching him run, Light uses a beam attack that pierces through his leg and leaves him handicapped. As he struggles with the wound, Kaido keeps whimpering and crying like an absolute wimp. Finally, Light walks up to him and states the obvious fact that Kaido is a spineless piece of garbage. After capturing the worthless elf, Light decides to bury the dead adventurers in his own abyss. While Light feels sad for the children, the elves shamelessly ask him about their fates. Nemamu shuts them up, and Light tells them he's got questions for them. While Yanak knows he's doomed, Kaido keeps asking him for mercy. Seeing him shamelessly beg for his worthless life after killing so many innocent people. Light feels enraged. Soon, he uses a teleportation spell that brings everyone straight to the throne room in his palace. After opening their eyes, the elves ask where they are. Light tells them they're in the abyss, which leaves them completely stunned. Yanak wonders why they've brought them to the most dangerous dungeon, so Nemomu explains that they live here. Shocked, Kaido says there's no way anyone could make a house in the abyss, so Nemomu starts stomping on the elves for yapping too much. Soon, Light's 4 head maids enter the throne room, happy to see their master. As they come in, they ask Light who the elves are, so he reveals that they're heinous criminals. Once the maids learn about the elves' horrific crimes, they all glare daggers at them. Each maid offers to unravel the elves' insides and extract their secrets by force, but Light tells them to keep their hands to themselves before he finishes questioning them. With Light's warning, they all calm down, so he turns to Gold and tells him to heal Leo, while he gets ready to bury Wordy and Gimra with Nemomu. Meanwhile, Yanak suddenly screams and starts acting as if Kaido had forced him to conduct his experiments. Shocked, Kaido also reveals that Yanak is the one who made him capture all those people as test subjects. As the two of them start fighting to prove their own worth, Light interrupts them. He reminds both arrogant elves about their past actions when they went around killing whoever they wanted. Light asks them if their helpless victims also asked for mercy, which leaves them speechless. Knowing they screwed themselves over, the elves stay silent, so Light leaves, saying he will simply return their own punishment to them. Afterward, he visits Mia, who finally wakes up from her slumber. She wonders where she is, so he tells her they're in his room. She is surprised, so Light explains that he has just returned from catching the adventurer killer. As she asks what happened to her friends, Light shows her brother sleeping safely nearby. However, he tells her that Wordy and Gimra couldn't make it, which brings tears to her eyes. Light hands her the remains of her friends. She begins to cry, and he quietly leaves the room. Walking in the hotel's hallway, Light thinks it's his fault for being so focused on revenge. He thinks that if he cared a little more for the people around him, he could have avoided hearing the painful sound of someone crying. The next day, Light informs the guild that the adventurer killer is actually a pair of elves. With the information he gathered, the receptionist thinks he deserves a promotion straight to the C rank. He is surprised, since he couldn't bring back any proof of capturing the criminals. However, she thinks that his intel alone and the 2 victims he saved from them are enough for the promotion. Later that night, Light talks to Mia and Leo at the inn. They inform him that they're leaving, and sincerely thank him for all his help. Light wonders what they'll do next, so they reveal that they'll return to their hometown. Surprised, Light thinks they could easily find a new party. However, Mia says that she's traumatized by her experience in the dungeon. She also thinks that her friends, Gimra and Wordy, gave her the courage to go on adventures in the first place, so she can't do it without them. Leo nods since he also doesn't want to continue without his friends, planning to return their remains to their hometown. Then, Light wonders if Mia will ever go to a magic school, so she tells him she'll self-study magic instead. After telling Light she'll be much stronger the next time they meet, Mia quietly asks if he will truly see her again. Light smiles and reassures her that they will, and she smiles back at him. The next day, Mia and Leo leave the inn, and Gold tells Light not to worry about them. Nemomu nods, thinking things will be better the next time they meet. Light agrees, thinking that he'll take the siblings to Wordy and Gimra's real graves once he can reveal his true identity to them. Then, he turns around and informs Gold and Nemomu that he's heading back to the palace. After returning, he meets Ellie and May and asks them what they learned from the 2 elves. May hands him some papers containing all their findings, and Ellie explains that she used forbidden magic to draw the information from their brains. May also reassures him that she thoroughly interrogated the elves to double-check and verify all the information. As Light looks through the papers, Ellie explains that submaestros are simply those who have a blood relation with a maestro, while Ellie concludes that this blood relation allows submaestros to level up quicker than their peers. May reveals that a maestro could destroy the entire world if left unchecked. Light gets confused by this, thinking there's no way one person could destroy the whole world, as he wonders if there is more than one maestro alive in their world. The girls explain that they only got this information from a fuzzy memory. It turns out that Kaido heard this information from the Elven White Knight captain, so Light thinks their next stop is to find this person. Then, he asks both girls how Kaido and Yanak are doing, so Ellie shows them their current condition, seeing them bloodied and utterly shattered. Light thinks it's time to get rid of the living pieces of trash. crash. He unleashes a special card called Dead Man's Banquet, which launches a horrifying mass of mouths on the elves. As the mouths rip and tear their bodies apart, they scream in unimaginable pain before finally disappearing forever. Once the elves are gone, Light asks Ellie about their main plan. She tells him that the preparations are complete, so they can start his revenge on Sasha whenever he wants. Ellie explains that Sasha is actually engaged to the vice captain of the Elven White Knights, so by capturing him, they can easily get leverage over her. Satisfied with her planning, Light tells her to begin the plan immediately. Meanwhile, Sasha sits with her fiancé, Michael, discussing the time she destroyed Light's hope. Michael thinks it must have been a fun experience, remembering all the times he has exterminated human villages. He tells Sasha that humans make pathetic faces while begging for their lives, and she agrees, thinking they're the ugliest creatures on earth. Michael thinks he's lucky to find a lady just as disgustingly racist as him. On the other hand, Light feels excited to finally get his revenge on Sasha, wanting to see the pathetic look on her face while begging him for mercy. Back in the elf continent, Sasha rides a carriage home. Happy with her meeting with Michael, she thinks he's the best fiancé she could have gotten. Her maid feels proud of her, thinking about her upcoming marriage. Feeling shy, Sasha tells her it's still a while before her wedding, but the maid thinks she should begin her preparations already. Suddenly, their carriage stops abruptly as a thin man drops some goods in front of it. As his angry elf owner whips the malnourished man to make him work faster, Sasha thinks humans are completely useless. Just then, Light walks into a dark alley, and Sasha immediately recognizes him. Shocked, she gets off her carriage and runs towards him, thinking she must be mistaken about his identity. As she moves through the alleys, she realizes he's gone, and soon finds herself at a dead end. Thinking it was just her imagination, she feels relieved that Light isn't actually here. However, when she turns around, she finds a message from Light inviting her to meet him at the giant tower. Since this news is too much for Sasha to handle, she lets out a panicked scream. Soon, her maid comes rushing over, while Sasha thinks she's about to lose all of the rewards she got from her mission to kill Light. Watching her break down from a roof, Light tells Ellie to handle the rest. After getting his order, she starts fantasizing about how hard she's going to ruin Sasha for hurting her precious master. With all the preparations done, they turn around to begin the final part of their revenge plan. Elsewhere, in the Elven barracks, two soldiers named Anhia and Kia amuse themselves by throwing daggers at a helpless, bound man. Nearby, a perverted elf named Sharfat touches his human slave, while his partners, Must and the elf captain, watch in silent disgust. Sharfat tells his captain about Kaido's adventures with Yanak. He explains that Kaido went on a killing spree and was eventually killed by a human, and that the Elven higher-ups now want their team to avenge him. Although Sharfat doesn't care since Kaido was a dropout who abandoned them, Must believes it's their duty to avenge a former friend. Meanwhile, as Anhia and Kia keep abusing the poor man, Sharfat tells them to finish him off. They refuse, saying that they'll play with their slave as they wish. Then, they criticize Sharfat for publicly committing such degenerate actions, so he gets offended. Behind them, Must tells the two boys that they should put the humans out of their misery because it's a great achievement to be killed by the hands of an elf. Sharfat thinks Must is too rigid with his principles, but he firmly states that a person should know when to take things seriously. Suddenly, the captain orders everyone to shut up, and the pressure of his aura instantly silences their big mouths. He tells Anhia and Kia to stop torturing people before telling Must to loosen up a bit. Then he barks an order at Sharfat, who quickly puts an end to the human slave. Once the man is dead, the captain tells Anhia and Kia to clean up the mess. As they obediently nod, he then tells Must to get ready for work. Meanwhile, Sasha tears up from the terror of watching a fellow human die, so Sharfat tells her she can rest in her room. As the scared girl quickly runs away, the captain tells Sharfat to stop fooling around with humans. He reminds him that elves consider their bloodline sacred, so they can't go around having children with inferior races. Instead, the captain points out that elves have history of marrying the prestigious maestros, so he should do his best to keep up the tradition. As Sharfat points out that they've all stopped leveling up despite having such powerful bloodlines, the captain tells him it's because they've diluted their blood through crossbreeding. Sharfat finally cracks and says he has no intention of having children with human slaves since he's just fooling around. He thinks it's hilarious to make weak women believe he has chosen them, and to watch them try their best to please him. Behind him, as Enhia and Kia drag the corpse of the slave, they tell Sharfat he's a pervert with a sick mind. Then, Sharfat thinks it's time to get rid of Sasha since he's bored and asks the captain if he wants to execute her. The captain refuses and gets up, saying they should avenge Kaido and the honor of the Elven Queen, even if he was a failure who left them. Later at night, as Sasha sleeps in her room, she wakes up from a noise outside her house. Some distance away, a magic circle appears and constructs a giant tower in the middle of the forest. Ellie appears at the top of the tower and waits for Sasha to show up. Back in her room, Sasha watches the mysterious tower from her window, wondering if that's where Light invited her to go. Elsewhere in the forest, an elf is transporting some slaves when he gets stopped by a ferocious Orthos. Afraid for his life, the elf abandons the helpless children and runs away while the Orthos approaches them. The next day, the driver heads to a tavern, where people discuss that their forest has been swarmed by dangerous monsters. As one elf wonders if the monsters are spawning from the giant tower, the other one tells him that their queendom can't even investigate it because they're short-staffed. Throughout the city, the queendom's officials have put out bounties in exchange for information on the strange tower. As Light takes a look at one of these posters, he feels surprised that so many elves have gathered to take on the dark challenge. Nearby, two elven adventurers get the hots for Nemamu, so they start flirting with her. As they brag about being level 150, they tell Nemamu to ditch Gold, the metal grandpa, and the boy next to her. However, she coldly refuses them, so Light politely asks the elves to leave her alone. Angered by their refusal, they try to attack him, so he stops them with a thunderbolt spell. Seeing him cast the spell instantly without any incantation, the elves realize that Light's party is none other than the infamous Black Fools. After that, all the elves back away from them, so Light leaves with his party, knowing that word will quickly spread about them. While they walk away, Light hopes that Aoyuki is handling everything just fine. Meanwhile, in the forest, a group of elf uses a chained girl as their lead while they cautiously scout the forest for information. Although one of them feels scared of the dangers, the other tells him that they'll just use the girl as bait to escape any monster attack. While the elves think their plan is foolproof, the girl stumbles and sits down to catch her breath. However, her master threatens to beat her, so she gets back up to walk again. As the elf spouts arrogant nonsense about humans being useless, some saliva suddenly drips on his hand. Surprised, he looks up at the huge maw above him right before his worthless head is crushed into bits. Watching the Orthos monster easily lift up their lifeless friend's body, the other elves remain frozen in fear. Then, the monster kills both of them and approaches the young girl. Seeing the ferocious monster, she thinks her life is over, but it leaves after sniffing her scent before she even has a chance to celebrate. Some thugs walk over, thinking they're lucky to get a treasure like her. As the girl thinks her life is about to get even more miserable right after getting freedom, the thugs actually pour some healing potion over her wounds. The little girl wonders why they're helping someone like her. Then, the thugs start planning to get her some fresh clothes, food, and a walking stick, while their leader reports to Aoyuki that they've saved another person. As she rests atop the giant tower, Ellie asks her how her mission is going. She wonders if it's difficult for Aoyuki to control so many monsters roaming the forest, but the cat girl says she's fine. Surprised, Ellie asks Aoyuki if she's also okay with dealing with any intruders that get in the way of their plan. When she tells Ellie it's fine, she starts doubting her, thinking that Light put too much burden on one person. Ellie thinks that Aoyuki could make a mistake controlling the monsters and endanger an innocent person's life, but Aoyuki tells her she's overthinking it. Then, Ellie asks her if their only purpose is to act like Light's puppets without a second thought, so Aoyuki tells her that's exactly what they're supposed to do. She thinks that no matter what, they should always obey her master, but Ellie thinks that she's being too extreme by acting as a pet for him. Angered by her defiance, Aoyuki threatens to kill her for doubting their master's plan. Completely unafraid, Ellie asks Aoyuki if she truly thinks she can beat her. The cat girl tells her she's going to try, and things get serious between the two of them. Before they can begin a bloody death match, the thugs call Aoyuki after reaching the base, so they both calm down. Down at the base, they hand over the rescued girl to an old man who is taking care of all their rescued victims. As they leave her at the foster home, the girl thanks the thugs, and they tell her to take care. Seeing how Aoyuki is carefully managing all of the humans' lives, Ellie finally believes believes she can trust her to handle the forest alone. Later that night, Sasha wonders how she'll visit Light since all the monsters in the forest are too strong for her. Since she knows that the White Knights will soon investigate the dangerous area, she thinks it'll get her exposed for failing to kill Light. Left with no other choice, she decides to go there and finish him off, no matter what. The next day, the elven royalty and nobles hold a meeting to discuss the tower. Sitting at the table, the elf chancellor suggests sending the White Knights to investigate the area. However, Captain Hardy refuses, saying that there's no need to mobilize his powerful troops just for a small mystery. Watching their tense exchange, the rest of the nobles remain silent since only their queen is powerful enough to settle the dispute. Finally, the elf queen speaks up and declares that Hardy's plan is the wisest, and orders them to increase the rewards for any interested adventurers to explore the forest for them. After the queen's verdict is delivered, the other elf nobles leave, while the chancellor feels frustrated that Hardy got his wish in the end. Later, Hardy thanks his mother, the queen, for saving his troops from grunt work. His mom says there's no way she'd endanger her precious baby boy, while Hardy thinks the chancellor is annoying him by playing politics in this dangerous situation. The queen chuckles, amused by her son's anger, but he tells her it's not a laughing matter. He thinks that the chancellor wants to abolish the monarchy, but she thinks there's no way he can pull it off with her trusty son around. Then, the queen gets up and tells Hardy that the giant tower is a much bigger issue than the chancellor. As she tells him it could destroy their entire country, he feels surprised. Hardy wonders if another Dark Lord is coming, so the queen tells him that with the help of the other races combined, they can pool their strengths to defeat him. However, she also points out that the birth of a Dark Lord would trigger the rise of a hero among the human race, which could cause them a lot of trouble. The queen feels frustrated that they can't just wipe out the entire human race to avoid this risk, but Hardy reminds her that if they do that, they'll end up looking like the bad guys themselves. Then, he thinks that if the humans actually produce a hero on the level of a maestro, the elves would have to befriend or kill them to protect themselves. The mention of a maestro reminds Hardy about Light, who was rumored to be a maestro a few years ago. The queen tells him that person was exterminated since he wasn't strong enough, so Hardy turns around to leave. As he walks away, Hardy thinks that all humans deserve to be wiped out for causing so much trouble to his precious race. Meanwhile, in the Elven City, Light's party walks around the streets. As they notice the two adventurers from earlier glaring at them, they wonder if the two will try to attack them. Behind them, Sasha catches a glance at Light's face and immediately calls out to him. Nimumu and Gold get ready for a fight, but Light tells them to stay back. Sasha approaches Light. She asks him to remove his mask. He tells her that the mask is only hiding some burned scars on his face, but she refuses to believe him and instead knocks it off, exposing Light's face. Although Light feels the urge to put Sasha in her place, he lets her take off his mask since he wants to properly savor his revenge at the right moment. Angered by Sasha's rudeness, Nimumu lashes out, but Light holds her back. Then, he takes off his hood, revealing horrifying burn scars. Sasha is shocked when she sees them and realizes he's not the person she was looking for, so she leaves the area. Once she's gone, Light feels satisfied that the burn scar illusions worked perfectly to repel Sasha, since it would have been hard to control themselves. He thanks Gold and Nimumu for staying out of the altercation. Gold feels like Sasha is completely insufferable, and Light agrees, thinking about how he fell hard for her sick lies all those years ago. Then, he reminds Gold and Nimumu to get back on track and heads back into the forest with them. While the three of them run through the forest, the two elves from earlier chase after them. Light tells the idiots to just back away, but they refuse to listen to him. After a while, they reach a deep spot within the forest where they're supposed to meet with some of Light's servants. Since nobody is there, he decides to wait for them. However, he is surprised to see that the elves actually manage to keep up with their speed. The elves act like they won't let Light escape from them, so he praises them for having backbone. While Nimumu thinks it's a shame the two idiots go around bullying others instead of getting a real job with their abilities, the elves act like they're doing them a favor, claiming that it's the greatest honor for a human to be killed by their holy elf race. Tired of their yapping, Light calls out Mira to take care of them, since the elves can't see anyone else. They think Light is bluffing and start taunting him for acting like a hotshot just because his party has become popular. Just then, a creepy woman suddenly appears behind them. Mira tells the two elves they've sealed their their own fate by insulting her master. As her arms grab the elves, they turn into grotesque, fleshy mouths that brutally devour them alive. Once Mira finishes devouring the idiots, Light apologizes for making her deal with them. She reassures him it's fine, saying that even if the elves tasted like total crap, she doesn't mind doing it for her master. Gold admits that Mira's abilities are great, but he thinks she's a bit terrifying to be around. Even Nimumu agrees with him, despite always being against him, not taking their jokes to heart. Mira reminds the two of them that they shouldn't be scared since they're all friends. At that moment, 3 more of Light's servants approach the group, led by a maid named Ice Heat. Following her, Suzu and Jack also make their way, ready for duty in the forest. After Light thanks them for their help, Ice Heat turns to Suzu and tells her to lead the way. Suzu quietly nods, so Ice Heat tells her to be more respectful. Afraid of upsetting their master, Suzu's musket, Locke, apologizes to Light. Since Light knows Suzu is shy, he doesn't mind if she stays quiet. Soon, they all move out together, and Gold thanks Jack for tagging along with the team. Jack tells him he just had to do it for the bro code since Gold was out there grinding away. While Gold appreciates his thoughtfulness, Jack reveals that it was Ellie's idea to send him. He also says there's no way he'd abandon his man Light, but suddenly, all the girls start glaring at him. Surprised, Jack asks if they're really angry at him for using a nickname for their master. While Light stays silent, Jack tells the girls there's no need for formalities since they're all partners. Using the nickname again, he tells the girls they're making Light only lonelier by turning him into some sort of unapproachable figure. Even Gold gets nervous seeing Jack fan the flames, and Light finally tells Jack to chill out. He reminds the girls that he has an understanding with Jack, so he doesn't mind if he uses nicknames for him. Although the women immediately nod at Light's suggestion, the mood gets even worse in the group as they move on. Light sighs, noticing how different Ice Heat is looking out of the abyss. He wonders why she switched to a combat outfit since she's always dressed up as a maid in the abyss. Ice Heat explains she was receiving maid training under May. Since she'll be involved in a fight on the surface, Ice Heat decided to switch to her combat gear for the mission. Laughing at her explanation, Mira tells her to just ditch the maid outfit since it'll hold her back. This offends Ice Heat, so she reminds Mira she can't act so inappropriately in front of everyone just for her amusement. While the two women start bickering, Light feels relieved that he was able to lighten the mood. Meanwhile, Jack asks Gold if he slacked off on training while he wasn't around, but Gold naturally shakes his head. Seeing the two of them get along, Light thinks the group will be fine going forward. He then shifts his attention to Suzu and explains that she suffers from shyness, so she only feels comfortable speaking with her musket, Locke. Light then asks Nimumu if Suzu is even a real girl. Confused, Nimumu nods, so he explains that Suzu's card actually showed her as androgynous, so he needs to check what that means later. Back at the tower, Ellie is impatiently waiting with Aoyuki when the group finally shows up. As they arrive, Mizuna and the other two girls come rushing over to greet Light. Soon, Ellie leads them inside the giant tower, revealing a massive, spacious room. She explains that the rooms are all furnished with technologies she reverse engineered from the abyss's core, so the tower is completely safe from external attacks. Inside, they're greeted by a massive dragon, but Ellie explains it's just her pet. She then tells Light that the top floor was built to serve as a wedding hall for his final act, so they all head there. Once inside, Light walks up the stairs and sits down on his throne, and Ellie offers to reiterate their mission plan for everyone. She begins explaining that the plan is to congratulate Sasha on her upcoming wedding before serving her the revenge she deserves. Although she thinks Light's plan was complete, Ellie reveals she added some modifications to it to add extra spice to his revenge. She explains that since the Elven White Knights are the strongest warriors of their queendom, she has arranged some matches between them and their soldiers for them to crush. She then plans on capturing the White Knights and cutting off the Elven Kingdom's power, which would allow them to get all the information on maestros they need, since they need to get more information on the rest of the 9 races as well. Ellie designed the giant tower to be a secure fortress for the base of their operations. Then, she summons a shadow clone of Light, explaining that it'll help the Black Motley rank up on its own while he stays behind to observe how everything unfolds. Pleased by her careful preparations, Light praises Ellie. She tells him that Aoyuki is currently luring Sasha toward the giant tower using her beasts. In the forest, Sasha feels scared of all the terrifying monsters surrounding her. However, she keeps going towards the giant tower since settling things with Light is the only way she can live peacefully. Back in the tower, Light wonders what'll happen once she gets to there, so Ellie tells him that her pet will greet all their guests. Outside, when Sasha sees the huge dragon, she gets scared and backs out. Ellie watches her leave through a camera and tells Light that Sasha will soon return with the White Knights to help her. Finally, she promises to arrange a perfect match by using their soldiers against the elves, saying it'll be a spectacle worthy of Light's time. Later that night in the Elven Queendom, Sasha calls over a royal meeting to discuss the giant tower. She explains to all the elf nobles that many giant monsters are prowling around the tower, which has caused the other monsters to spread out to the forest's outer area. Then, she also reveals that the tower itself is guarded by a fearsome dragon, which shocks them all. However, the elven nobles refuse to believe such a tall tale, thinking there's no way such powerful creatures would just pop out of nowhere. Sasha tries to convince them that she's speaking the truth. Just then, the Chancellor explains that not too long ago, they received a similar report from the Black Motley. He points out that despite two credible sources finding matching evidence, Hardy is still refusing to mobilize his White Knights and lets everyone else do the dirty work for him. Facing the Chancellor's taunt, Hardy remains silent before finally declaring that he'll lead out the White Knights against this dangerous dragon. After Hardy leaves the room, Sasha asks the Chancellor if she can accompany the White Knights on their mission to the giant tower. The Chancellor reveals he was going to make her accompany them from the start as a reward for reporting this important information. However, he warns her to take a certain item from her father's collection with her since she won't be able to contribute to the fight at her strength level, and she agrees. Later, Sasha asks her father if he can grant her request. The next day, Hardy gathers all the White Knights and briefs them on their game plan. As he explains that Sasha will lead the way, Sharfat wonders if she'll be able to keep up with them. She reassures everyone that she'll be fine, and Michael offers to protect Sasha if anything goes wrong. Meanwhile, Anhia and Kia mention that Sasha is joining them because of the Chancellor's orders, carrying her family's secret item with her, while the twins think it's because Michael is good friends with the Chancellor. Sharfat feels upset that the Queendom's nobles are dragging politics into their mission. Meanwhile, in the tower, Ellie shows the scene to Light using her magic. He asks her how Sasha is doing, so she zooms in on her face, seeing Sasha hard at work. Light praises Ellie for bringing her here with her careful plan. He then notices his own hand trembling, realizing that his body is shaking from excitement, wondering the kind of twisted faces Sasha will make when he finally exacts his revenge. Light can only pray that she arrives as soon as possible. Back in the forest, Sharfat wonders if Sasha is even leading them down the right path, but she explains that she marked the route the last time she came, pointing out the marks on the trees. However, she stumbles on a hard route, so Michael quickly catches her. Watching the two of them romance it out in the misty forest, Sharfat wonders how they can pull it off. Back on the tower, Ayuki notices that the White Knights are quickly approaching. Soon, they all pull up in front of the tower, where the gate opens up to greet them. From the tower's interior, two giant Orthos monsters walk out and enter the forest. After those monsters leave, even more monsters move out, so Sharfat wonders if they should attack. Hardy tells him to stay back since their main concern is the dragon, and reminds him that the adventurer party they hired will also launch a diversion. Soon, flares go off in the forest, which attract the huge monsters to rush towards them. After they leave, the captain asks Sasha if those were the only Orthoses in the tower. When she nods, Hardy tells his team to begin the attack since the tower is now empty, save for the dragon. However, he still reminds his team to keep up their guard since the tower could be hiding other monsters. To infiltrate the area, Hardy casts a silence spell that completely blocks all sound around their team. Surprised by the chilling emptiness, Sasha admits that Hardy deserves his fame with his terrifying methods. As the elven team charges into the tower, Ellie tells Light to prepare himself since she's about to give him the appetizer before his main course. While rushing through the tower, the elves suddenly step on a hidden teleportation circle, which scatters them all around different areas. Watching them trapped in the tower's maze, Light looks forward to watching the elves struggle all the way into his clutches. As Michael and Sasha take in their new surroundings, Michael suggests walking up the stairs since it seems to be their only way out. While both of them walk up the stairs, Ellie promises Light that she'll begin their revenge plan very soon. He nods, excited to see the looks on their faces when they finally arrive. Elsewhere, Anhia and Kia also wonder where the teleport trap has sent them. Not wanting to take any risks, they decide to regroup with the rest of their team. Suddenly, Mira and Ice Heat approach them with a confident stride. Mira suggests taking on both twins at once since she's way stronger than they are, but Ice Heat refuses to give up her turn, watching the women disregard them like they were just ants. Anhia and Kia get offended, so the twins ask them who they are. Mira tells them they'll be their opponents. Although Mira doesn't think the twins can do anything to her, Ice Heat warns her to be careful. Even though Ice Heat also thinks that Anhia and Kia are just second-rate elves, she still thinks they should remain careful about any hidden techniques. Feeling insulted, the twins get angrier and charge towards them with their swords. As both Mira and Ice Heat easily dodge their attacks, Anhia and Kia proudly announce that they're elite submaestros from the Elven military's strongest division. The twins continue swinging their blades at Mira and Ice Heat, but the two women brush off the strikes as if they were nothing more than a light breeze, watching them move around like a bunch of rats. Mira stays completely unimpressed, yet the twins keep pressing their assault, fully assured of their own power. Meanwhile, Sharfat is irritated that his team got caught by such a ridiculous teleportation trap. He then notices a person hiding behind a pillar and shouts for them to step out. Soon, Suzu comes out of the darkness with a determined look in her eyes. Sharfat instantly falls in love. While Suzu gets creeped out by his thirsty stare, Sharfat starts courting her with cheesy pickup lines. However, this only creeps her out even more, so Sharfat gets confused. Locke speaks out, explaining that his mistress doesn't like talking to creeps. Sharfat is surprised that Suzu owns an intelligent weapon. Locke goes ahead and introduces them both, though he adds that Sharfat won't need to remember their names for long since they're going to kick his butt. Despite Locke's threat, Sharfat just gets disappointed that he has to fight a pretty girl. Instead of getting on guard for a fight, he tries to convince Suzu to make a romantic getaway with him instead. Suzu feels more and more uncomfortable, and Locke firmly tells him that he isn't her type. Refusing to give up, Sharfat presses Suzu about what kind of men she likes. In response, she quietly starts swooning over her beloved Lord Light. Locke repeats her thoughts aloud, though he also adds that Suzu has absolutely no chance with Light. Irritated, she begins slamming Locke against the wall, while Sharfat finally gives up on her stolen heart. With no other choice left, he summons an invisible crossbow and fires an unseen arrow. Suzu narrowly dodges it and retaliates with a blast from her own musket. Sharfat immediately intercepts with his crossbow. Having witnessed her incredible abilities, he starts admiring her even more. Locke also admits that it's not easy to block Suzu's bullets mid-shot. Sharfat also comes to understand that his opponent matches his skill level, prompting him to finally get serious. Back to Mira and Ice Heat, they continue watching as the twins bounce around like a bunch of beach balls. Mira taunts the elves for their pathetic circus act, but the twins tell her that the pillars create a huge advantage for their movement. Despite their confidence, Mira thinks the elves are only bluffing, so they decide to show their strength to her. They suddenly cast a wind cutter spell, which cleaves towards the maids. Mira and Ice Heat easily dodge the attacks, and Ice Heat notes that the elves were able to instant cast their spells while moving at lightning speeds. Mira thinks their abilities are only normal for an elite elf soldier. Suddenly, the twins appear behind them and unleash another wind cutter from close range. This time, Mira and Ice Heat are forced to dodge the attacks. While Mira finally thinks they shouldn't underestimate the elves that much, the twins think they've completely got the upper hand. Continuing to fly around, they decide to finish off the two maids. Elsewhere in the forest, an adventurer falls to his knees in fear as he sees a demonic Orthos approaching him. The monster roars and attacks, but Light's clone suddenly appears in front of the adventurer to block it. The adventurer recognizes him, and Light's clone calls Nimamu and Gold to assist him. Both of them move in front of Light, giving Gold the chance to intercept Orthos's next strike. Nimamu snaps at him to stay out of her way, so he reminds her that they're putting on a performance anyway. Recalling her original mission, she quiets down. Then, the two of them start chasing away the Orthos, acting like they're saving the day. Meanwhile, the real Light is watching the scene from the tower. He wonders if this circus show was Ellie's idea. She denies it immediately, saying those two idiots most likely came up with this plan all on their own. Back in the tower's deeper levels, Anhia and Kia continue to attack Mira and Ice Heat with their wind cutters. As the maids dodge their attacks, Mira taunts them for spamming the same move over and over again. Meanwhile, Ice Heat thinks that the two elves will quickly run out of mana. However, the twins tell them that they've still got hours of battery left, and explains that they haven't even used their real powers. With that, the elves unleash a new variation of the wind cutter, unleashing a barrage of dozens of swift blades aimed straight at the maids. While weaving around the rapid cutters, even Ice Heat and Mira are compelled to admit the twins' impressive power. Suddenly, as Mira dodges incoming strikes, Kia hurls a throwing knife at her. The blade sinks into her leg, dropping her to the ground in pain, and Hia immediately takes advantage of her injury and cuts off Mira's arm. While the arrogant twins start planning which body part they want to cut off next, Mira asks Ice Heat what she thinks about their abilities. Ice Heat admits they've shown an impressive display, but dismisses them as a pair of chumps, which enrages them. They remind Mira that they literally cut her arm off, but she calmly notes that their blades don't have a single drop of blood on them. Mira reveals that she only faked her injuries, and without warning, she eats her own broken arm. In front of the stunned twins, she regenerates her arm like it was nothing. They wonder if Mira is even real, and she responds by pulling on her own head to scare them even more. After detaching her own head, she proudly reveals that she's a chimera, whose body is made of different creatures. Since her body parts are independent, Mira can easily detach and reattach her limbs and head at will. After explaining this, Mira reveals that she and Ice Heat are both level 7777. This massive number completely fries the twins' brains, so Mira tells them to test her out. To see if Mira is bluffing, the twins attack both maids with another wind cutter. This time, they don't even bother dodging since the attack harmlessly bounces off their bodies. Mira feels smug that her acting fooled the twins, which only infuriates them further, so they charge towards her. As both elves slash their real swords at the two maids, they remain completely unharmed. When Ice Heat and Mira call them worthless, the horrified twins immediately turn tail and flee. Watching them escape, Mira creates a spiky shield, while Ice Heat begins charging her fiery fist Ifrit. Elsewhere, Sharfat taunts Suzu as he continues to attack her. While she runs away from his crossbow bolts, he tells her to start fighting back. Suddenly, Sharfat fires a bolt that streaks straight toward her, and she only just manages to evade it. However, another wave of homing bolts launches from behind Suzu, but she leaps into the air and dodges those as well. Sharfat then takes advantage of the fact that she can't dodge while mid-air and unleashes a barrage of homing bolts that erupt the moment they make contact with her. As the explosion's smoke fills the area, Sharfat thinks he overdid it. However, once the smoke clears, he is surprised to see Suzu standing completely unharmed. Seeing her incredible talent, he continues falling for her even more. Sharfat tells Suzu to abandon Light or whatever loser she's in love with. Suddenly, Locke becomes terrified, realizing that Sharfat has no idea what's about to happen to him for bad-mouthing Light. Suzu suddenly starts powering up and gets locked into complete kill mode. Meanwhile, the twin elves run into a dead end where Ice Heat starts blowing a scorching hot wind towards them. Unable to withstand the intense heat, the twins create giant ice walls with their magic. However, the hot winds burn the ice like butter, so they start casting more magic to strengthen them. With each chant, the twins create new ice walls, which immediately get torn down by the wind's incredible heat. As they desperately try to make more ice walls, even the twins' bodies and clothes catch on fire. However, Ice Heat keeps increasing the strength of her flames, while the twins can only stare at their doom as the intense fire envelops their bodies. Back with Suzu, she pulls Locke's trigger a billion times per second to create an ocean of powered bullets. Even though Locke urges Suzu to calm down, she mindlessly fires a relentless storm of bullets at Sharfat, who only barely manages to escape. As the elf pervert runs away, he tries to counter Suzu's bullets with his crossbows. However, the sheer amount of bullets overwhelms him, and at that moment, one of the shots shatters his crossbow to pieces. Then, even more bullets tear into his body, and Sharfat is overwhelmed by agonizing pain as Suzu's magic inflicts him with poison and a multitude of other status effects. Back to the twins, Ice Heat feels worried that she killed the twins. Mira reassures her that they survived since Ellie cast a barrier to protect them. The twins desperately plead with the maids to spare their lives, and Mira suddenly lifts them up. In that moment, she reminds them of all the times they brutally tortured human slaves without a shred of mercy. She then forces her tentacles down their throats. Mira says that Light has ordered her to torture the twins as much as she can while extracting information from them. She then swallows the twins in her grisly tentacles, ready to destroy every shred of their sanity. Meanwhile, Sharfat lies bloody and broken on the ground, begging Suzu for mercy. Instead instead of helping him, she starts stomping on his face in rage, ready to kill him for disrespecting her lord. However, Locke reminds Suzu that Light ordered her to keep her prey alive, so she immediately stops. Feeling guilty that she almost ruined her master's plan, Suzu starts crying. Meanwhile, Light asks Ellie about Sasha's status, and Ellie informs him that the elf is just about to reach the top floor. In another level of the tower, Jack faces off against Must. Jack reveals his incredible level of 7,777 and tells the poor elf just to give up. However, Must refuses to believe him since he thinks he's bluffing with such a high number. Knowing how weak the poor elf is, Jack offers him the chance to surrender. However, Must remains confident in his abilities and declares that he'll send Jack back to heaven. As he jumps to attack, Jack easily blocks all of his blows just with one finger. He then sends Must flying with nothing more than a flick of his fingers, launching him straight into a nearby pillar. As Must gets up, he still refuses to believe that Jack is truly that strong. Must declares that he won't let anyone get in the way of his duty to the Elven Kingdom, and his words remind Jack of his twisted ideals, thinking that he's doing the puny humans a favor by crushing them and putting them out of their misery. Jack thinks Must has a disgusting mind, while the arrogant elf self-righteously declares it's his right to exterminate humans since they pollute the very air he breathes. Just then, Must starts charging his legendary axe, pouring all of his life and soul into its body just to get a shot at defeating Jack. Must explains that activating his weapon's power drastically shortens his lifespan, but he doesn't care since he'll use it to defeat Jack. Jack admires his courage. Then, Must finally unleashes his strongest attack, but Jack just blocks it with a steel-coated hand. Suddenly, the iron blood starts growing all over Jack's body, who fiercely shouts at Must to bring everything he's got, since his diamond-hard skin won't take a scratch from any of his attacks. Having lost his mind from the crazy situation, Must lashes out and starts attacking Jack like crazy. However, Jack easily deflects his attacks and shatters his weapon like glass. Jack then punches Must's face, sending him flying back. As the elf knight lies lifelessly, Jack prays that he didn't die. Luckily, Must survived with just an inch of his life, so Jack still succeeded in his mission. Elsewhere, the White Knight captain, Hardy, walks through the tower's floors, and Nazuna comes out to greet him, declaring that she's the strongest. Hardy ignores Nazuna, thinking she's just a child role-playing as a hero, so she asks him to pay attention to her. He asks if she's actually his opponent, so Nazuna nods, saying that her master sent her to fight him. Finally, Hardy opens his eyes, realizing that Nazuna is actually very strong despite looking like a kid. Hearing about her master, he realizes that the person pulling the strings must be even stronger than her. Despite that, he fails to understand that Nazuna is leagues above him, so he grabs his sword, ready for a fight. She also takes out her sword to face him, and Hardy notes that all her armor is enchanted with some kind of magic. As Hardy continues to study her, Nazuna keeps swinging her sword. Getting impatient, she brings it up and swings it straight at Hardy, creating a blade of wind that passes him in a flash and tears through the tower's walls. However, the blade also cuts through Hardy's arm. He falls down from the injury, leaving Nazuna confused. She approaches the elf general and tries poking him with her sword, since Hardy doesn't wake up. Nazuna gets worried. Soon, Ellie contacts her and chews her out for breaking the tower, but Nazuna acts like it wasn't her fault. Ellie reminds her that she personally built the tower using her own mana, going through all that effort and even reinforcing the 4th floor's walls so Nazuna wouldn't end up destroying it. Nazuna tries to apologize, but Ellie tells her that she won't be able to carry out Light's order without learning to control her powers. Feeling guilty, Nazuna agrees to control her powers. Behind her, Hardy somehow heals himself using a secret spell. Nazuna wonders why he didn't die from her powerful attack, so Ellie explains she was keeping him alive with her magic. With Hardy up for round 2, Nazuna gets ready to fight again while keeping her power in check. This time, he decides to stop underestimating his opponent and uses his full strength from the start. Hardy activates his silent field, leaving Nazuna confused. He then explains that his silent spell places a debuff on his enemies, draining their strength strength away and using that stolen power to boost himself. After that, he forms an invisible, soundless blade by shaping the mana from the field, explaining that its real length is never fixed, making it impossible for his opponent to anticipate his strikes. Seeing this, Mizuna puts her sword away and assumes a fighting stance. So Hardy wonders if she's trying to fight against his unpredictable sword with better control. However, Mizuna seems nervous, so he thinks that she'll make a mistake in rushing him. Suddenly, she appears in front of him before he can react and sends him crashing into the tower's wall. This time, the wall only cracks all over instead of breaking apart, so Mizuna celebrates her control. However, Ellie still screams at her for damaging the wall since it will still require her to use mana to repair it. Mizuna also starts screaming at her, thinking she's nagging her too much. Ellie gets angered, wondering where she even learned that word, so Mizuna tells her that the palace maids are always complaining about her. Then, Light tells Ellie to be kinder to Mizuna since she successfully completed her mission. After Light's warning, she finally lets Mizuna go and tells her to bring back Hardy. Leaving the job to her, Ellie apologizes to Light for her outburst, explaining that she wanted to teach Mizuna for his sake. Light asks her if she's doing fine herself since she used so much magic to repair the tower's walls. Ellie reassures him she's fine since only her legs started shaking from the strain, but Light feels concerned for her well-being. Ayuki then reminds them that Sasha and Michael are about to enter, so Light tells everyone to get ready and behave their best. He puts on his dark mask, ready to welcome Sasha for his revenge. Behind the throne room's door, Michael tells Sasha he'll protect her no matter what. Feeling safe in his presence, she gets ready to open the door, but it somehow opens by itself. Inside, Light welcomes Sasha and Michael, and the two of them head in his direction. After getting closer to him, Sasha realizes that Dark is the same person who once showed her his burn scars. Dark greets her casually, prompting Michael to ask if she knows him. She quickly denies it, saying she's only met him once, before snapping at Dark for behaving so arrogantly in front of her. Then, she tells him not to speak to her as if they were longtime friends. In response, Light brings up all the kindness she showed him in the past. Finally, Light removes his mask, leaving her completely stunned. Sasha wonders what happened to his burn scars, so he reveals that he actually faked them using an illusion. Light also explains that he has stopped his body from aging to always remind himself of the pain he felt at her hands. While Sasha struggles to accept reality, Michael asks her if Light is the maestro her team supposedly killed 3 years ago. Light interrupts him and explains that a teleportation portal sent him to the abyss's deepest floor, where he survived and used the powers of his maids to plot his revenge. After explaining his backstory, he finally tells Sasha that he prepared this tower just to exact his perfect revenge on her. As Light asks Sasha how she's feeling, she remains silent. However, her fiancé starts laughing like crazy. He tells her that this is the perfect chance to get the reward for defeating the giant tower and capturing Light. Sasha points out that she'll get exposed for failing to kill him if Light returns, but Michael thinks the higher-ups will forgive her mistake if she returns him. Empowered by his words, Sasha turns to Light and mocks him for thinking about revenge against her. She then gets ready to fight, so Light picks up his staff. He warns his maids not to interfere and heads down to face Sasha directly. There, he gives Sasha his well wishes on her marriage and promises to gift her with his revenge. She laughs in his face, thinking that a human could never become strong enough to face an elf. Although Sasha proudly boasts about her new level 500, Light doesn't get impressed. She fails to notice his bored reaction and shows him the special item she got from her father. Light feels curious about the ocarina, so Sasha plays it and summons 3 powerful angels in front of him. With the angels on her side, Sasha thinks she's invincible. She orders the attacker angel to kill him. As the angel smashes at him, Light dodges it and feels surprised that it destroyed the floor. Then, he retaliates with her own staff, but the second angel stops his attack with a holy shield. Surprised, Light increases the power behind his attack, which finally breaks through the angel's defense. Even so, he's left confused because despite using enough magic to completely wipe out both angels, he only managed to destroy its arms. Just then, another angel heals the other 2 with its magic. Light smirks, realizing that among the angels, there's a clear lineup consisting of an attacker, a tank, and a healer. Meanwhile, Sasha feels absolutely flabbergasted that a mere level 15 human can go toe-to-toe with her Phantasma class family treasure. Smirking proudly, Light reveals his level 9999 to her, leaving Sasha terrified. Michael turns around around and reassures her that Light is faking it since no one in history has ever been able to reach such a level. She calms down and orders her angels to attack again, so Light used a dust press skill to take them all out. Then, he combines the spell with a shadow dance and fire squall to burn the angels' bodies and prevent them from healing. At last, Light fires off several ice arrows to put an end to the angels, but Sasha uses her ocarina to summon them back. She smiles and explains that she can resummon the angels whenever she wants without using up any of her mana. Light thinks her angel ocarina item is more troublesome than expected. He instantly appears right in front of Sasha and drives his staff forward, aiming to destroy it. However, Michael blocks him with a shield, warning him to stay back. Light praises him for blocking his attack, but Michael tells him he did more than just block it. All of a sudden, the shield sends Light flying backward. Confused by how it managed to repel him, Light questions it, and Michael explains that the shield is also a phantasmal grade treasure capable of absorbing an attacker's power and reflecting it straight back at them. Michael then uses his shield to shatter the restraints binding the angels and tells Light that it also has the power to enhance the stats of both its wielder and nearby allies. Sasha mocks Light for ever thinking he stood a chance, while Michael believes the fight is already won. She steps forward and asks Light how it feels to be backed into a corner, which makes Light burst out laughing at her smug expression. Both Michael and Sasha assume he's lost his mind from fear, but Light tells her she's mistaken if she thinks she could ever make him afraid. With a maniacal look in his eyes, he promises to show her true despair. Even Ellie and Aoyuki get scared and try to stop him, but Light releases a seal on his soul that was locking his true power. Soon, some dark chains start swirling around him, emitting a terrifying aura. Michael warns Sasha to stay back. In that moment, Light calls code 9999 and his call summons a sealed weapon stand and shatters all the dark chains. His staff then transforms into a new X-weapon known as Gungnir. Once Gungnir appears in the room, both Ellie and Aoyuki are left staring in horror. Soon, the dark aura clears out from the room and Light tells Sasha she's about to experience true terror. Both Sasha and Michael finally get scared as Light starts approaching them. Michael tells Sasha to quickly use her angels, so she obeys. Then, the attacker angel charges forward and smashes at Light, but he easily breaks its weapon. Even the angel gets terrified of Light's power. Then, the tanker angel summons its holy shield, but Light effortlessly shatters it with his new staff. Seeing Light's overwhelming power, Michael tells Sasha to keep resummoning her angels to stop him. Light laughs, ready to let the elves struggle as much as they want. Suddenly, he feels pain in his hand and realizes that Gungnir's dark aura is burning through it. He realizes he can't this up for too long, but he doesn't care since he's willing to sacrifice his whole arm just to get his revenge. This time, Sasha uses her strongest technique, which combines all three of her angels into a supreme archangel. She commands the archangel to use a tactical class spell and completely obliterate Light, so the angel raises its weapon and summons a golden javelin. Sasha proudly introduces her holy javelin skill, saying it's the strongest attack she's got. Watching the archangel's incredible power, Michael feels excited to marry Sasha since it'll put the ocarina right in his hands. Then, Sasha launches the holy javelin, sending it hurtling straight toward Light. When it strikes, Sasha laughs and bids him farewell, only for Light to effortlessly disperse the entire attack without breaking a sweat. Light mocks Sasha for thinking she had the power to hurt him. Terrified, she tells her archangel to attack again since she has no other choice. However, Light continues to shatter all of its attacks like glass as he walks towards Sasha. He asks Sasha if she's giving up, so she tries a burst of several javelins at once. Even so, Light blocks every attack with ease and keeps advancing toward her with a massive smirk on his face. Fearing for her life, Sasha starts screaming at him to stay back. She panics, firing off more attacks at Light, unable to believe that none of them are working. In the end, Light laughs and tells Sasha to do better, warning her that if this is all she has, he'll be killing her soon. That was episode 11. Subscribe to not miss the next part and watch the next video on screen.